here also?
We're up.
Yeah,
We're live. We're live.
Live? Great.
I lost touch with it after.
They have to say, oh, that's it.
Yes, I just spoke to her.
Okay, you guys have your cholin or whatever, not cholin, go, and I'm going to start. Okay, we have a lot to do today. We have to finish Siman Reis Amud Gimel. We have to do Siman Reis Amud Tes, Reis Amud Tes, Ayin Reish, Reish Ayin Aleph, Ayin Reish Beis, and Reish Ayin Gimel. Whatever.
We just go over what's on the
They
test.
got a lot of them are very short, but that's the start. We finished last week. First of all, America was amazing for those who were asking. Over 200 people took the test in America. Right now, also in Israel, there's going to be over 200 plus people.
Amen.
Wow, amazing.
Spread them out on the table.
So it's very exciting. The Baruch Hashem is going very exciting, and people are learning, people are striking, and it's changing their lives. It's amazing what a little bit do the first thing, and it's amazing how a person really buckles down and he wants to know the halacha and he remembers that in all human beings need is just like a little push, and then your inside really just comes out. And that's really what SCP is, like we're just giving you that little push and then your inside. So maybe you're the fire, we're just getting a little wind, and then you're becoming this huge Mitura, which is amazing. And so we should encourage ourselves and hope you all pass the test. So in order to pass the test, here we go. Okay? So like this. So we ended off Siman Reis Amud Gimel, and we discussed the whole city of lighting and Rosh and all these other different places. Mechaber in Siman Reis Amud Gimel says the Father says that if you light your Shabbos candles in one place and you have your meal in another place and you're not enjoying the Shabbos candles, and by the time you come home, the candles are out, that is a bracha b'atala because you weren't nana from the Suda at all. Comes to the Mechaber and says Yud, and he says as follows: the Baal Halacha is also going to the Bahag Yivan Shivli, Nershel Shabbat. Once you lit the candle of Shabbos, Chalal Shabbat, and Esav Melacha. The moment you light the Shabbos candles, it's already Shabbos. And then he says, he'll skip the middle. He says V'yesh Omrim, She'eno Mu'il. It says V'yesh Cholkim, al Baal Halacha Gdol Zormim, She'en Kabbalat Shabbat Tolui B'Adekat Haner, Ela B'Tfilat Hanovim. That Kabbalah Shabbos has nothing to do with lighting of candles, rather with the dominant. And Yivan Shema Al Chazan, or according to us, or according to the Mishra Vayikala, that's when you're Makabel Shabbos. So how do we pass it? According to Ashkenazim, they're machmir like the Bahag. At the moment you light candles, and we saw before already in Sivay, that it's not just lighting candles, but it's also what? Even making the bracha. And that's why you need to make the bracha. That's why you need to light the candles and then make the bracha. But according to Sfardim hold that no, we're not the Kabbalah Shabbos with the lighting of the candles really when it's by bar. However, the Yalkut Yosef writes as follows. He says, when is this din true? When is this true that Sfardim are not Kabbalah Shabbos when it comes to when they're lighting candles? That is only if they light in this something we didn't mention this year. This is only if they light a half an hour before Shkia. If they're lighting a half an hour before Shkia, then they're not being the Kabbalah Shabbos. However, if they light a half an hour before Shkia, even Sfardim are Makabel Shabbos without Laka. No, the opposite. If you're lighting Shabbos candles within a half an hour of Shkia, you're not Makabel Shabbos. If you're lighting candles before a half an hour of Shkia, you are Makabel Shabbos. Why is that true? So, because if you remember in Sif Dalet, you learned the Mechaber said that you're not allowed to be Makabel Shabbos well in advance of Shabbos. Meaning, even though it's already after Chag Mincha, you shouldn't light Shabbos candles without being Makabel Shabbos. But why? Because if you're lighting Shabbos candles without being Kabbalah Shabbos, so then it's not muchach that those candles you lit were for Shabbos. So therefore, it comes to the Yalkut Yosef. It says that if you're being Kabbalah Shabbos well before a half an hour before Shkia, so then it's not muchach that your candle lightings are going to be for Shabbos. How is it then muchach that your hadlaka is for Shabbos? Only if you're Kabbalah Shabbos. If you're Kabbalah Shabbos, so then it's muchach. 40 minutes. What? So according to
40 minutes is a problem.
According to the Yalkut Yosef party, if you're machmir like the din in Yerushalayim, and you're lighting Shabbos candles 40 minutes before Shkia, it comes out that your wife needs to be in the Kabbalah Shabbos right then and there. Even though if she would light 10 minutes later, she would have all the way till Shkia to make the bracha Shabbos. What? What about making the bracha? B'pashta, she would not make the bracha afterwards, even according to Sfardim, because that was a different, even within the Bahag, there was a machlokas of when you're Kabbalah Shabbos. Is it by the bracha or is it by the actual halakha? And B'pashta, they're still going to say that the din of Overlas Yasam takes precedence to the din of what? To the din of being Kabbalah to move the bracha.
What's that actually significant of 30 minutes though?
Because he held that 30 minutes before is already, it's not moving the lighting the public shop. Where did he pull that number? Yeah, I don't know.
When you hear Ravitz on the radio, he always says, don't light 40 minutes before Shabbos.
Correct.
And time when people are crazy,
Correct.
you should wait
Yeah.
20 minutes.
Yes, and in his trubas also, he writes in the Yalkut Yosef in the footnotes, he writes how he went to Shlomo Zalman and he said, why were Shlomo Zalman pushed very hard to have the 40 minutes before like a clock. And that, and we learned why, right? We learned because he wanted you to do to 7, he wanted to daven mincha, to do to 7 Shabbos after you daven mincha. Because according to him, if you daven mincha, if you or mikabel to 7 Shabbos before mincha, you can't daven mincha. So in the Sefer, in the Yalkut Yosef, he writes that he went to Shlomo Zalman and said, why are you pushing this whole 40 minutes thing? You should push other things that are a lot more important. Like, I don't know, I'm shocked. But whatever. So that was that's the focus that we saw over here in Shiur. Now within the Bahab, he says in the Makabel Shabbos, by the time of the clock, we have another focus if you could light out tonight. Right? According to the Bahab, who says this is as impossible. In the Makabel Shabbos, we have Neros. Could you light out tonight? So we say Yeshua and Yishomer. The Maisa, it seems that you could light out tonight, and the Ramah says that you could light out tonight. However, the Bishop Pura and the Magen Avraham and the Rosakim say that's only when you can't just always light out tonight, only if it's the Torah. What was the raya that we saw? The raya that we saw was that the Ramah passed that you need to light the Shabbos candles and then make the bracha. Why? Because we're worried that you might, we're cautious for the opinion that you're Makabel Shabbos without bracha. Therefore, you need to light first, and then you need to make the bracha. So we said, if according to the Rambam, you could always make it tonight,
You should just do
you're
it
going
on
to
the
make it
last
tonight. From now until forever, for the whole Shabbos of the year, I'm always going to be Makabel Shabbos tonight. And then you can do what? Then you can make a bracha, and then light the candles, and it'll be over Las Yasin, which is much better. So you're only allowed to do B'Shas Tzorah. So then we saw focus what's considered Shas Tzorah or not. So we saw regarding going to the Kotel of Shachton when he was here, we asked him exactly Tzorah. He said yes. Shlomo Zalman famously said no. He said yes. He had the beautiful lashon of a woman wants to go and feel the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael, the kedusha of the Makom Habayis. This place where the Shechino was held. Of course, that's considered Shas Tzorah. Therefore, it's going to be. Another thing that we saw in these halachos is that you're not supposed to light in one place and then move to another place. Right, meaning you're not allowed to.
Move the
like
candles.
the example we gave was a woman who was sick and who was lying in bed. Are you allowed to give her the candles, have her light, and bring it? So we said if you're yotzei the hadlaka in the place where she was sitting, then you're allowed to move it. Obviously, if it's not Shabbos for you. But if you're not yotzei the hadlaka in the place where you were lighting, so then you're not going to be yotzei the you would have to light again in the place of where it's moved. And you say it's like it's the time of the hadlaka that makes it, and not the hana. So that was Shiur. What?
The issue wasn't movement in that case. It's that there weren't Shabbos candles in the first place. You lit them when you weren't.
No, you lit them for Shabbos. You just didn't light them in a place that you were before. Nice. You lit them in the street, and you say, no, let me bring them into the house. They're so beautiful out here. That's the part. Correct. So comes the Mechaber and Shiur Aleph. It says as follows. It says, Afal pi shloi tfilel ruach kadadayim. Even though the tzibur didn't daven yet, if kadam echid tfilel tefillah shel Shabbat before Yom. If you're ready, if you daven Kabbalah Shabbos, so then it's Shabbos. But you know what's in the Shabbat, you can't do that. Because the moment a person is Kabbalah, the moment a person is davening and he wants to go to his field of davening, so then he's automatically Kabbalah Shabbos. Remember, we learned that when a person makes Kiddush, we saw in the focus, we'll get this later, that if I'm not Kabbalah Shabbos, am I allowed to make Kiddush for other people? Right, so we saw Bekivig, left that it's our Shlomo Zalman said the Shas Atak, you could be yotzei that. So the question that a lot of you ask, and a very good question, says, how is that different from this over here? Right, over here the din is that if I'm davening Mar, and I don't want to daven, and I don't want to be Makabel Shabbos, it goes against me, and I have to be Makabel Shabbos, right? Because I daven, Masha'inka, when I make Kiddush for someone else, right? I'm saying the words of Kiddush, but I'm having in mind not to yotzei. I'm having in mind not to be Makabel Shabbos, so then I'm not being Makabel Shabbos. So how is Kiddush different than what? Than davening. So the answer is that over here, you want to be yotzei your chiyuv of davening, right? We're saying, I'm davening, I want to be yotzei my chiyuv of Ma'ariv, and still I don't want to be Makabel Shabbos. So that is not acceptable, right? But when it comes to Kiddush, I'm not being yotzei my chiyuv of Kiddush, right? And since I'm not being yotzei my chiyuv, I'm just making Kiddush for the other person. So since I'm not being yotzei my chiyuv of Kiddush, I don't need Makabel Shabbos. That's what we say. But
Is there a chiyuv for Kabbalah Shabbos?
is there a chiyuv? What do you mean?
To say Kabbalah Shabbos? No, to say the words, etc. Yeah.
It's like a minute. that Shlomo Malkovich was.
Which is right.
It's based on the Gemara. The Gemara says let's go to the.
Meaning you can say I want to take Kabbalah Shabbos down. I don't want to be Makabel Shabbos. It's only for davening Marv that you have to be Makabel Shabbos. Is that what we're saying?
Meaning, if you want to make a Tanai.
What if you wanted to have a musical Kabbalah Shabbos? You say I'm doing this. Yeah, say do the whole thing.
Starting a new trend. Forget about musical sleepovers.
Yeah.
That's once a year.
I've seen this. I've seen it before. People, we're gonna do it early before Shabbos, with guitars and whatever. So when we say if you're davening, you have to be Makabel Shabbos. Is that only?
Myra for sure. That we saw.
Right.
And up until Boy B'Shalom, then you can for sure keep your guitars.
But again, Mizmor. Yeah.
That you can do, right? Because the only time when you're being Makabel Shabbos is only by Boy B'Shalom. So then Tzarchin. Then I don't know. Maybe we should have some shop for that. Yeah, it's smart. Maybe we should do that. Guys, Friday night? We said
What if you're running behind schedule?
What?
It's got the Shiur ready.
I'm saying no.
Then you can't plug in the amplifier.
Does the Chazara plug the amplifier to a Shabbos clock? You have a security system. Okay, so that was if you know. Sify base comes in the Chaver and he says as follows. He says, the entire city was Makabel Shabbos. The mid is Makabel Shabbos, and we said this is only if there is one shul in town. If there's more than one shul in town, so then each shul has its own thing. But if you have a makeup minion, if you have like a pop-up minion, so then you're a nigrar after that. Meaning you don't need a daven when they're davening, but your isser malacha is chal right away. An example we gave was camps. Like let's say you have 10 guys and say, oh, I want to daven Kabbalah Shabbos, so I don't want to do it on time because I'm not familiar not to do early Shabbos. So you still are not allowed to do malacha from when the camp is Makabel Shabbos.
We said that there's a chiluk whether they're doing it like b'shita every day of the year, even in the
That was
winter,
the
or
motion. That was the motion.
right.
We had a chiluk between.
And so there maybe you could continue driving in, etc.
Right, that was the motion. But Lamaisa, it seems like most posting are making Shabbos.
And they also don't drink chalav stam.
They also don't drink any milk.
If you have there are two shuls, so then one shul at night. But if there's one shul, and you guys just pull out and say, you know what, I want to go hiking today, that doesn't work for Kabbalah Shabbos, but it does work. That doesn't work for Kabbalah Shabbos. But you could out tomorrow whenever you want. Right. You're not obligated to do it. But you Makabel Shabbos. Correct. You're Makabel Shabbos. Come to Makabel Shabbos Gimel. Adam Shabbat Leir, a person who comes to the city, Be'erev Shabbat. Rovakal. בערב שבת, וכאן קיבלו אנשי העיר עליהם את השבת, אף על פי שעדיין היום גדול ולא מספיק. אם היו על העמוד, you have to throw them down. If you have money, you have to throw it down. So there's different dinim over here about if you're allowed to run in, because the Pepsi comes to the Chaver and says, if you skip the Dalit, תעזבו. מי ששאל להתפלל מנחה בערב שבת עד שקיבלו הקהל שבת. You waited in order to be Makabel Shabbos, לא להתפלל מנחה באותו בית הכנסת. Meaning, you show up to shul, there's one shul in town, and they already started to daven Kabbalah Shabbos, they're ready to Kabbalah Shabbos. You didn't daven Mincha yet, but it's still before Shiur, so you're allowed to daven Mincha. What's the thing? You're not allowed to daven in shul, Ella, ילך חוץ לאותו בית הכנסת, שם שכל you can daven outside the shul, והוא שלא קיבל שבת עימהם. Obviously, if you weren't Makabel Shabbos, אבל אם ענה וקיבל שבת עימהם, אינו יכול להתפלל תפילת חול, אלא להתפלל ערבית שניים. If you weren't Makabel Shabbos with the entire city, you're not allowed to daven, Mincha twice, because for you, it's chol. But if you were Makabel Shabbos and they already started to daven, so then what's the thing is you're not daven, meaning you're already Makabel Shabbos, you're no longer allowed to daven Mincha inside the shul, but you're allowed to daven Mincha outside the shul. Comes to the next Chaver and he says, אם בא לבית הכנסת סמוך לקבלת שבת, מתחיל להתפלל מנחה, ואף על פי שבאותו מתפלל קיבלו סיבוב שבת, אין בכך כלום, הוא מתחיל ביתר. Right? This is sometimes common in the summer. You show up in early Shabbos minyan, and you want to daven Mincha right before fog, let's say, right? And the tzibur already was Makabel Shabbos before the tzibur was Makabel Shabbos before fog already. The can't be Makabel Shabbos before fog. Okay, so let's talk about a case where it's not a summer, a regular case where the tzibur was already Makabel Shabbos before Shkia, and you come into shul and it's not Shkia yet, and therefore you're still allowed to daven Mincha. But they're up, they're singing. What's that thing? Mizmor David, not Mizmor David. Right? They're singing that, and you know that if you start davening, or they're in the middle of Lachadot, you know that if you start, you're going to finish in the middle of your Shemana Esrei, they're going to be Makabel Shabbos. The din is you're still allowed to start, because once you start better, you're allowed to continue. That was Sesh Kres Vav. And design. What?
So we go after when you start, not after.
For this specifically.
But not necessarily for davening before plug. But not necessarily for davening before plug and then Mara before Shkia, right? If we start davening beheter, as we called it before plug, mincha, it doesn't matter.
You cannot daven. You're not allowed to daven mincha and Mara between plug and Kabbalah Shabbos unless both of them are b'tzibur.
No, no. If I come to shul, if I know that for me to come to shul, it's kind of.
If you're going to miss mincha before plug and you want to go to Shabbos, so then better to daven the Yechidus before plug. Now, 1 second. So Sif Zayin, Sif Yud Zayin, I think, comes in the Chaim and says, "Yesh omrim shemish kibbel elav Shabbat kodem shemashechem muktar l'man yisrael chavrot la'asot lo melacha." If I'm a Kabbalah Shabbos and it's still not nighttime, I'm allowed to ask another Yiddish friend to do malacha for me. Muktar l'not l'tom melacha. Even in Shabbat, we said the same thing applies on Motzi Shabbos. The one exception we said was that if you are like by Rabbeinu Tam, if you hold, if you're a Sorah and you're Kabbalah, you keep Rabbeinu Tam Shita, so then you're not allowed to ask someone else who doesn't keep Rabbeinu Tam to do malacha for you. But if it's down the minhag or whatever, something that you're Kabbalah, so then you are allowed to. And then the other thing I was talking about was the Gabi Yantiv Sheni guy who's here in Eretz Yisrael, if he's allowed to ask the guy from Eretz Yisrael to do malacha for him, where Shlomo Zalman at the end was makeup because according to Lashon of the Shiur here, the Shiur says the convention of the one mutal and Yisrael Gashaf. But that since for you, meaning I'm allowed to tell a non-Jew who wasn't a Kabbalah Shabbos to do malacha for me, because he knows it's not Shabbos, and I know that he knows that it's not Shabbos, so therefore it's going to be mutter. So comes to Shlomo Zalman, he says the same thing today with Yom Tov Sheni and Yom Tov Rishon. Everyone knows that for you it's not Yom Tov, right? And everyone knows that for him it is Yom Tov and not just Mikvah Safik, but Mikvah Minhag. And since for him it's also Mikvah Minhag, therefore he would be allowed to ask him to do malacha on Shabbos. But we saw on Yom Tov Sheni, but we quoted from other Achronim who were mad. Good. Fine.
Not if it's visible.
For example, therefore, if somebody comes in to shul and they can't have it, and they're additional twice. Don't say you only do the marriage twice. They give it to women. This is a mistake.
So even if it's Lasel Pshia and it ends up being Odes, and we're going to see that even if we're going to see that you can daven too much, even if it wasn't like Mamish. No, you can always daven. Correct. Yeah. Even if we're Pshia, we're going to see that the whole din of davening twice is because the Ikra din you could always daven in a Mishpanas. We're not going to. You don't do that because you can't have Shabbat.
So wouldn't it be better? Wouldn't it be better to like a question just before that
to daven to Mars?
To do to Mars?
No, because it's still there. You should daven mincha after clock and then wait and daven Mars afterwards. No, if you missed clock and you didn't daven mincha yet, so don't daven Mars after clock. You daven mincha and then daven Mars after Shkia. Fine. Now it's Siman Reis Samech Gimel. Siman Reis Samech Dalu was the din of candles, where there's all these different, all the different wicks and all the different oils and all the different things. We didn't get into these details because I think all of us basically just go to a store and we buy wicks, or we buy oil, or we buy Shem Zayit. So we did quote one thing, and that was the inning of, is there an inning to use olive oil? So we saw the Tosfos who says that olive oil is mitzvah min halacha because it lights the best. So comes Ramosha, the persuasion, he says that everything that, if what we care about is just the light, the illumination of the light, so then what should we really? So then anything that lights beautifully is going to be mutter. And that's why our beautiful wax candles are light brightly and light very nicely and they don't flicker. Those are even mutter l'chatchila. And that's what the Mishnah says that you shouldn't use wax. That was only if it was mixed with other things and it didn't bright and it wasn't lighting, illuminating nicely. But if it's illuminating nicely, so then you can. And that was the Berhitim who put it all those things. That's what we saw. And then we saw that the grub was very, there were the shulchan, and the grub was not good to always use olive oil because there's an Indian in olive oil. And you see a story about the grub that he became sick because he had so much oil in his house. It was mamish too much. So that's basically what we got from Siman Reis Samech Dav. Then we skipped Siman Reis Samech Hey and Reis Samech Vav and Reis Samech Zayin. Most of them had to do with Reis Samech Hey and Reis Samech Vav was Muktzah and Yechamer. Reis Samech Zayin we did when we learned Reish Samech Aleph, which is like we're doing Shabbos early, and then we got to the din of Reish Samech Tes, which is what happens if you make a mistake when you are when you're davening, right? So the first halacha is the Mechaber. Mechaber says Omer by Chulu b'Tfilas Haaretz. You need to say by Chulu on Myra. We saw the Gemara. The Gemara says that a person who says by Chulu, he becomes like a shutta for the Kadosh Baruch Hu because he's made that a Kadosh Baruch Hu created Shemayim Haaretz. So on that morning, you're supposed to be saying by Chulu 3 times a night. First in the Shemona Esrei, then when you repeat it, and then the third time in Kiddush. Very good. And then comes the Mechaber into the base, and he says that what happens if you start the bracha? If you got into a bracha, you got into a different bracha, meaning you started a weekday Shemona Esrei. So what's the din? So if you're well into the bracha, we saw what's the din? What? You have to finish the bracha, right? So if you say Atachon in Ladam Das, what's the din? You do not stop. You go back, you finish the bracha, and then you go back. Where do you go back to? After Kala Kaddish, right? Yismach Moshe, after Kidashta, after Echad, exactly where you made the mistake. So that was the thing. Said, how could you finish the bracha? Aren't you not allowed to be shol tzrach on the Shabbos? First, not allowed to ask how to do requirements. So that we saw that a person is allowed to be shol tzrach if it's the nusach of the bracha, then it's going to be much. Then we got into the book. So what happens if you just say the word ata? Right? So we saw like this. The Shulchan Aruch says that if there's a differentiation, meaning it depends on whether you think today is chol or you just accidentally said it and you know today is Shabbos. Where the Shulchan Aruch says that if you think that today is chol, the Imam is like out in the zoo, or I don't know why, you start davening Shemoneh Esrei and you say ata and you're thinking ata chol and you think that today is chol, so then the din is that even though you just said the word ata, you have to finish the bracha. Why? Because you thought it's chol, you started the bracha. You have to say ata chol and finish the bracha. But Avraham says that's only going to be true by Shabbos day, because by Shabbos day the word isn't ata, it's yismach, right? But by Shabbos night and Shabbos mincha, so then the din is that if you say the word ata, the din is that you can finish the entire bracha. Sorry. Then you switch back to Shabbos and you say ata kidash. But if you know that today is Shabbos, so then the din is that you could switch. And if you know that today is Shabbos and you just said the word ata, so then the din is that you do not stop. Correct. And even on Shabbos day, meaning even what happens if it's Shabbos day, you know that today is Shabbos, but you accidentally say ata. Right? So here also, since ata could be understood as ata kidashta or ata echad, and the din is that if you switch one of the night Shemoneh Esrei, so the day Shemoneh Esrei for Yotzei, so if you know that today's Shabbos and you said ata, so the din is that you're still allowed to go back. Good? Is that clear or no?
See the table.
No, because you're going at a row. You said ata, you're ata. You know what Shabbos, you have your tie, you're down. You say you're thinking not to hold yourself. You catch yourself, right? You catch yourself before you started to say the word chonim. So then it is that when you said the word ata, you were intending to say chonim.
That's what where you can go, oh wait, it's Shabbos today, and that would be the first case where you can say, oh, so you like, right, exactly.
And it doesn't matter where.
What's another? Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where you catch yourself, even if you do slach lanu, then you go back to Yismach.
If you do slach, so you have to finish the bracha, and then go back to Yismach or go back to Adar. The only exception, what was the exception of Yismach? If you have to Ritzeh. Meaning not even by Mundin, you get to Ritzeh. You get to Ritzeh, Hashem came. You made it that far. Amazing.
You're on a roll.
Right? You're on a roll. You made it all the way to Ritzeh, and then you say Ritzeh, Hashem, and then you remember, so the din by other brachos is that you have to finish the bracha. Why? Because since the Ikra din, you really need to be saying a Shabbos Shemoneh Esrei, weekly Shemoneh Esrei. Just Chazal had Rahman said us not to have a long Shemoneh Esrei on Shabbos. So therefore, since you started, you have to finish it. But once you get up to the bracha of Ritzeh, you said Ritzeh Hashem, then anyways you're going to be saying the Shabbos Shemoneh Esrei. So the thing is, then you should stop right away, and then you should go back to Yisrach Moshe or Ata Kidash. What happens if you finish the entire davening, or you say the last few the Ratzon Imra, do you need to go back
beginning.
Yeah, you go back to the start of where?
Shemona Esrei.
All the way to the start or to Yitzchak Moshe? All the way to the beginning because it came over. That was if you did all these outside. What?
Are these all these brachot like fundamental?
Yes, the pashas, meaning the pashas. Yeah, you can't count them for 100 problems.
Well, we say that you can be saying them anyway. Is it really bracha levatala? You could really be saying it, but you could really be saying it, right? That's what we said. That's why you can finish the bracha. So that's not a bracha levatala.
No.
We're saying you should finish it, but it's still a bracha levatala.
No, he's asking. Oh, you're right. Yeah, meaning if you accidentally daven a weekday Shemona Esrei, so then you would,
Maybe 6 brachas are levatala, but not the middle.
So maybe he would. I know. I'll say like this: when it comes to if a person forgets Yal V'Yavo and he has to undo and he has to repeat it again, I think a lot of parents brought down that those brachas are not part of the. I don't know. Sorry.
You can't say like a tefillas nedava or something like that.
I need to say it, and you already said it. So then why should not be considered one of the brachas?
You still have a chiyuv of Shabbos
Right,
davening.
for sure not a bracha levatala. Right?
Also, if you go through the Hoshmona section, be ikar then be already be yoytze.
Correct. Just you weren't yotzi because there's another chiyuv to be masker Shabbos. That was another thing. That if you do say a weekly Shemona Esrei, and then you say, and then somewhere in the middle you say today is Shabbos, so then you don't need to go back because you're yotzi chiyuv. Same thing with Musaf. If you daven a weekday Musaf and you say, oh, today's Musaf, sorry, say a weekday Shemona Esrei, and in that Shemona Esrei you say. In National Fanecha Karbanos Musaf or whatever the Ramah brings. So the din is that you don't need to go back, but you need to be master some sort of star of Shabbos.
About Zechir Tzitz Mitzrayim.
On weekday, you say Shabbos.
About Zechir Tzitz Mitzrayim.
What?
Zechir Tzitz Mitzrayim.
If you forget to say Zechir Tzitz Mitzrayim?
No, if you're just said Masker Shabbos and Zechir Tzitz, so we learned about saying good Shabbos, being Yotze, saying Shabbat Shalom to somebody, because you have to also be Masker Shabbos and what? Right.
So then for what?
So you have to mention both.
And then for what?
Just to be Yotze the Tefillah. I'm saying if you're saying a weekday Tefillah, no, you're saying a weekday Tefillah, you would have to mention.
No, that's Kiddush. There's a different thing. There's a skara of davening of Shabbos that it's enough just to say today's Shabbos in the Shemona Esrei.
Right.
Then if you want to be also Yotze the Kiddush, so that we saw that you need a skara of Shabbos and
Zechir. Right.
But just for like the skara of Shabbos of like the Chazal or the Sakin, then you need to say a Shabbos of Shemona Esrei, and that's enough just to say that today is Shabbos.
Maybe we'll move it to. Let's move it to that table.
You guys can hear me?
Yeah.
Is that better? Can you
Can
hear
you
me
hear
now?
me now?
Hear me now? Great. Okay, so that was, should we start again? I have it recorded so far, so I'll send it out.
There's also like a 2-minute lag.
That's what I'll move back.
So we can set.
Okay, great. So that's Legabe, that's now. So the other thing that we discussed is what happens if you mix up the dollars. Let's say you're coming from I don't know where and it's Friday night and you by accident instead of saying Ata Kedash, you say Ata Echad and you finish the entire thing. You're like, oh my goodness, I'm by Mincha. Has that happened to anyone here?
When you say Shabbos,
You mix, you open up to the wrong page and you're just like, it's like that guy who was spacing out during laning. And then they call him up and he has to like, and on his way up, he's like, what happened? The guy's like, So the same thing, you get the shul and you're like opening it up and you get, that rabbit? Or the guy who gets the lula for the first time and they give him the crown, he's like, what are you supposed to do it? He's like, what am I supposed to do with the crown? He's like, put it on. Fine. Okay. So that was the gabi. That's if you mix up the davenings, it's okay, except for what? Except for musaf. Meaning, if you say a Shabbos davening instead of musaf, let's say you get the shul and you think they're up to Shabbos davening and they're really musaf or whatever it is, and you accidentally daven 2 shachars instead of shachars and musaf. The din is that you're not yotzei musaf. That was up till Seif Zayin. Comes to the Mechaber Seif Zayin and says like this: Chozrim l'mal v'yichulu. You go back and you say v'yichulu. Why do you go back and say v'yichulu again after davening? After your Shemona Esrei, for 2 reasons. Either
To drag out davening?
No. Either because you don't say it on Yom Tov, right? Why do we pre Vayechulu every Friday night? Either because you don't say it on Yom Tov, or because Not necessarily those who can't, those who don't know how to daven. We're going to see another reason. Maybe there's also an extra element of edus as well. Those are the two reasons that the Shulchan Aruch says of why we go back and we say Vayichulu on Shabbos. Comes the Be'er Halacha, and he says that you should really saying Vayichulu out loud because there's an extra element of the edus, and therefore, and there's an edus to say the edus b'tzibur. Why is there an edus to say the edus b'tzibur? Because the edus for a regular person, all you need is two, but edus for a Kadosh Baruch Hu, or whatever, you need at least you need at least a million of people to say it, and therefore the Be'er Halacha says that it's best to rush through davening in order that you can get. In order that if you know you daven Shlosh Shmoneh, you should daven Shmoneh quickly, so like that you can finish davening. And you can say Vayichulu together with everyone else. Comes the Chazon Ish and he says no. He says why? Because in the Gemara there's a makor of davening slowly. The Gemara says that a person who has kavanah, that's a lofty thing, that's something that's very special. But saying Vayichulu with a minyan of 10 people, that's not something that's mifresh in the Gemara. But then he ends up saying Tzarichin. Why? Because the Gemara says that afilu yachid omra, and even a yachid says Vayichulu mashma in the Gemara that Meikar Din you should really have 10 people. Once again, Rosh Zalman says that you can say Vayichulu with your wife. That's also considered edus. Why? Because she's also mechuyev in edus that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. And if you're up to Vayichulu in the middle of Shemon Esrei, if you are up to Vayichulu and the Chazan gets up and the Chazan starts like you're davening a normal Shemon Esrei, where you're one of these like matzah minions. You know the matzah minions they have in America? Something that you know, so what? That's 18 minutes for Shacharis. Yeah, from beginning to end, they're done. So they have, no, you know the matzah minions? So you're in one of these minyanim for Mariv, and you're davening at a regular pace, but the Chazan's like, Vayichulu Hashemayim V'aretz, and you just got up to Vayichulu. What's the din? You're supposed to say it together with them, and it's considered, and then you're yotze your edus. However, comes to Shlomo Zalman, he says, let's say you even finished Vayichulu, and then the tzibur says Vayichulu, you can repeat it and say it again, to the yotze the chiyuv of the tzibur, and the tzitz goes to as far as saying that you can even say it out loud, because the Be'er Halacha says that there's an Indian to say it out loud. Why is it an Indian to say it out loud? Because it's an Indian, right? So a lot of times people like come to shul on Friday night and they're tired. The chazan starts Vayichulu, and then you can't hear him anymore. Sometimes it's because the whole tzibur is loud, and sometimes he just says Vayichulu, and then he goes into quiet mode. He's saving his voice. But Me'er Din, what are you really supposed to say? You're saying the whole thing out loud. Vayichulu Hashemayim V'aretz V'chol Tzva'am. Why? Because you're testifying that because Baruch Hu created the world, and that's something that's amazing.
How about two questions?
Yes.
One, isn't it better for me to stop in the middle of my Shemona Esrei like Yusha and just be focused for the Vayichulu of the no, like you
That's the second book.
Oh, like Shemek Koneh? No, because here the whole din is it's not necessarily meaning. It's that you need to say it, right?
Yeah, so I'll
that's
say it
why.
afterwards. I'll say it afterwards.
So that's not b'tzibur though. The whole din is that you need to say b'tzibur.
Now, if I say
if
you say it with your wife, isn't there a problem of like you step before it's like what?
For this night.
But she's your slave.
What? Fine. So comes the. So that was Siv Zayin. Comes the what? Did you hear that? Did you hear that joke? Comes the What? You can also see that?
No, they're writing though. They said that it's much better now that we can send some kugel. I'd appreciate it.
Oh, okay.
Upload.
They're in their house. Their wife. Okay, comes the Mechaber in Siv Chas. He says again, so Melchishel Tzibur Bracha Achas Mein Sheva. The thing is that you need to say Bracha Achas Mein Sheva. What's that called? Basically, what do we call that? Magen Avos, right? Why do we say Magen Avos? It says Ve'ein Ach Nomer. Why do we say Magen Avos? What does the Gemara say? Because of Sakana. So how does Magen Avos deal with Sakana? So we saw there's two ways how Magen Avos deals with Sakana. Either we're stalling for time. What does that mean? We're stalling for time.
The guys that were late are davening.
The guys who show up late. Now we're repeating like a mini Chazara Sashatz. And since we're repeating a mini Chazara Sashatz, it's like it stalls for time for the guys who show up late. However, the Grun, quoting the Gaonim, he says that it's not just to stall for time, but on the contrary, it's the people who show up. They don't need to daven Mariv anymore. Rather, what do? They just come. They sit there quiet, and they're yotze with the chiyuv of the yotze with the chiyuv of whatever. They're yotze the chiyuv of Mariv with the bracha mein sheva of the chazan. Right. So that's what. That's what we saw a few nafkaminas. We saw if you bow, should you bow? So if it's a din in Shemona Esrei, like a mom's chazar shashat, so then the chazan should bow, unless there's a separate reason of not to be mosif in Ishtach Havayis, like which is what they do over there. Or another nafkamina. Remember another nafkamina we saw?
Say it out loud.
What? The tzibur needs to say it out loud or not? Good, right? Meaning if it's a thing of chazar shashat, if the chazan is motzi you, so then what? So then you should stay quiet, right? You shouldn't interrupt. You should just hear the chazan. But if it's a din of stalling for time, so then what? Adrabah, we're stalling for more time, right? The Chazan is going to say it, and the Yaakov is going to say it. So it's even better. So that's the. Those are that's what we saw. So that was Seif Ches. Comes the Mechaber and Sif Test and he says as follows: Yom Tov Shchal Yos B'Shabbos and no maskir shel Yom Tov V'Berka Achas Ben Sheva. When Yom Tov falls out on Shabbos, you don't, and you're saying Magin Avos, you don't say what? Yom Tov. But when it's a Seres Mitzvah in Yonid Yoma, when it comes to what do we do say? We say Aval Hakadosh because that's part of the first three brachas, I guess. And it was Mesukin also for saying in those days. Comes the Mechaber and Sif Yod, and he says En Omri Bracha Me'in Sheva. Meaning, when the Gemara says that they were misaking magin avos because of sakana. So even though today there's no sakana, what's the din? Still the minhag is bimkom ba'omid, and still the din is that everyone still needs to say magin avos. However, if you're in a situation where even if in the times of the Gemara you wouldn't be saying magin avos, so then today you don't. So for example, in the times of the Gemara, if you had a minyan b'beis chasanim, so Chazal weren't misaking to say Magin Avos b'beis chasanim. Why? Because it was a pop-up minyan, it was a makeshift minyan, and therefore there's no chashash hakana. Because everyone is there, everyone's making it together, we're all eating together, and everyone goes to sleep together. So since there's no chashash sakana, so Chazal weren't misaking to make to say Magin Avos. So therefore, same thing by us. When it comes to Magin Avos in a pop-up minyan by us, so the thing is that you do not need to say Magin Avos. So then the question becomes, what is considered kiviyas? What is considered a makeshift, like a permanent minyan, where you would say Magin Avos? So the Mishnah Berurah gives two things. He says kiviyos l'kam yamim. You need to be koveya there for a few days, and you need also a sefer Torah. Comes the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, and he says kiviyos for kama shavuos and a sefer Torah. We said what's the nafkamina between both of them? A hotel program, right? A Pesach program where you're going for 8 days or for a week, where according to the Shulchan Aruch you would right away, according to the Mishnah Berurah, you would be saying Magin Avos. So according to the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, you would not. However, we saw the Taz kind of did away with his din of the Sefer Torah, and he says you don't need the Sefer Torah. The Be'er Halacha quotes the Taz, and Ramosha, based on this, says that if you have a minyan kavua every single week in a certain person's house, so then the din is that you can say Magin Avos because it's not kaviyas of every single day of the week, but it's kaviyas that every Shabbos we're davening in the same place. You can say Magin Avos. And then we saw the Ben Ish Chai, he says al pikabal, you should always be saying Magin Avos. And the nafkamina is a lot of times you have like bar mitzvah boys or like you're at a simcha where it's in a makeshift place and the bar mitzvah boy gets up and he starts saying Magin Avos, and then he gets all red and purple and he's already leaving tomorrow and he says bar mitzvah Joshua. So in such a case, like you could let him go. We saw also the minig in Yerushalayim, the Shiur Shabbos Kilchasa says that Yerushalayim, the remote, the Shlomo Zalman Pascha is like the Mishnah Berurah. That you need kiviyas and you need what?
Don't need it.
And you need a Sefer Torah. But he says in Yerushalayim you don't need a Sefer Torah. Why? Because the Kedusha where we're living, where we are right now, is Bechina Sefer Torah. And we saw that the same din applies also by Tachan, that there's the din that you don't do Nefilas HaPayim by when there's no Sefer Torah. But in Yerushalayim you're always going to do Nefilas HaPayim. And then we just have another machlokas if that's Bein HaChomos or that's also the Yerushalayim that we're in right now, which was at the Ships will also be Bein HaChomos. So that was the if Yod. Comes the Mechaber and if Yud Aleph and says like this: Av b'Shabbat Shechal Yom Tov, Amrim Bracha Ben Sheva, Sit Yibis, and Ledaber b'Shas Shomrim B'Echul. You shouldn't speak when you say B'Echul, but B'Shas Shomer Shliach Tzibur B'Cham Ben Sheva. Or when you're saying the Bracha Ben Sheva, and he quotes from the Sefer Hasidim that there was a guy who died and he had some he had something on his face, right? Some coloration on his face, and he says because I was talking during Chazara's shots, and this is something that we mentioned before. We'll just mention again. Then one of my Rebbeim, I think in high school it was, maybe it was in Shiva, I don't remember. I don't even remember which Rebbe it was who said it. But he said, he says, who here ever spoke during davening? So, you all raise your hand. Who here ever spoke during davening? I think everyone applies, right? So he said, remind me one thing. Tell me one thing that you told your friend during davening. Does anyone here remember anything they told their friend during davening?
Yeah.
What? The weather? What was it?
Football game.
The football game, exactly. Right? So his point was that if you can't recall a conversation that you said during davening, obviously it's not important, right? And sometimes like you're sitting there during davening, you're like, wow, I have to tell him this joke, I have to tell him this thing, I have to tell him this that. And if you look back at your life, you say it's mamish, it's yatsa schara v'efsedo. It's mamish, it makes no sense. Meaning sometimes it's very expensive. What? It's not mutters, but his point was that nothing that you say during davening is ever important. That was important, and I think it's right. Fine. So that was if your base comes to the Chamer, if you Gimel, he says like this: If you daven a weekday Shemoneh Esrei, v'lo yistil shel Shabbat, or you didn't masker Shabbos, or shelo yitpalel klal, or you didn't daven at all, or it comes to Be'er Halacha and says you forgot to say, Mashav Ruach Umar L'Gashem, the din is that you need to go back. What's the din? Mishama Mishlach Tzibur B'cham Min Sheva, Mirosh by the Sof Yatza, and you heard it from the beginning until the end. You are Yotze. And the chiddush of the Be'er Halacha is that even though by the Bracham Min Sheva there is no Mashav Ruach Umar L'Gashem, still you're Yotze. Why still Yotze? Because Chazal were Masakinim for tefillah. So the Mishnah Berurah explains why are you Yotze with the Chazara shots of the Tzibur. He says since the Ma'ariv is a Rishos, and since it's a Rishos, we're going to be making you could be Yotze with this Chazara shots. But we saw according to the Quran, the Gonim, you don't need to come on to the fact that it's a Rishos. The whole Takana was in order to be Yotze people. So therefore, if you didn't say it, or if you forgot to say it, or if you said something wrong, so then the din is that you could be Yotze with the Chazara shots of the Tzibur. Mishnah Berurah says Me'ikar din you shouldn't be so machanes, and if you have the ability to daven Shemoneh Esrei again, you should daven Shemoneh Esrei again. However, if you just finish davening, like, oh no, I forgot my Shavuach, and then the guy starts, so then what's the then? Then you could be Yotze, you could be Yotze with him, and the Mishnah Berurah says that you should say it word for word, verbatim with him, and then you're Yotze. Fine. So that's the din. That was the Gabi. But we said on Yontif, if you forget to say the Yontif davening, so then you're not, you can't be Yotze with the Bracha Mein Shabbat. And the reason why you can't be Yotze with Bracha Mein Shabbat when you say the Yontif davening is because it was never Mesukin to be Motzi at this type of davening. It was only Mesukin to be Motzi a regular weekday davening. Comes to Mechaber. Seven Reis Samach Tas. Are you ready? Nasash. Kiddush B'Beis HaKnesset. So here comes the Torah. What does the Torah say? The Torah says that there used to be a custom where let's start from the Gemara, right? The Gemara says that there's a custom to say Kiddush in Beis HaKnesset. So why was there a custom to say Kiddush in Shul? Now that we've learned the whole study of Kiddush B'Makom Suda, so we saw that Gemara. The Gemara says that there was a custom to say Kiddush in Shul. So they asked then Shmuel holds that Kiddush is only B'Makom Suda. So then what's the point of saying Kiddush in Shul? So what does the Gemara answer? The Gemara says that they're saying Kiddush in Shul for the people who are eating and sleeping there. So it comes to Torah. He says today that we don't have this. Today that we don't have people eating, we don't have people sleeping in Shul. What's the din? You should abolish this minhag of saying Kiddush in Shul. And the Shulchan Aruch brings this la'alacha. He says no, again, there's a minhag to be mekadosh in Shul. However, in Eretz Yisrael, the minhag is not to, and then he says it's better to make the minhag not to recite Kiddush in Shul. The Mishnah Berurah says that the minhag in Chutz La'aretz is to recite Kiddush in Shul, and the Ma'aseh, I think this is the minhag that still is upheld till today. In Eretz Yisrael, it's hard to find a place that they say Kiddush on Friday night, and in Chutz La'aretz, I think in most or in a lot of shuls, they do say Kiddush on Friday night. So now the question becomes: if you're saying Kiddush, how are you allowed to drink? Why are you right? You said because you're only Yotzei Yechiv of Kiddush if it's B'Makom Suda, and if it's not B'Makom Suda, so then you're not Yotzei Yechiv of Kiddush. If you're not Yotzei Yechiv of Kiddush, so then how are you allowed to drink? Right? It's like it's a chain, right? Why? Because you're not allowed to drink before Kiddush. You're only allowed to drink after Kiddush. But since I'm not being Yotzei Yechiv of Kiddush now because I'm not having a meal, so therefore I can't even drink from the wine itself. So what do? Comes the Mechaber and says you should give it to a katan. Which katan? Igil l'chinuch or not igil l'chinuch? So the Mishnah Berurah quotes in the name of the Magen Avraham that it's best to give it to a katan she'igil l'chinuch. Why? Because he at least could be Yotzei Amin, he can have kavanah for your bracha, and then it won't be mamish bracha l'batal. It says if he was igil l'chinuch, how are we allowed to give it to him? Right? We're being mechanech him not to eat. So there he was mechanish in the name of the Rashba that since the katan is being nana from it, and it's hayin rebusa and it's for him, and it's something that's gonna help him, and therefore it's gonna be what Ernie says. That's why you also are allowed to give your kids to eat on Shabbos morning before davening, before the Kiddush, or even on Friday night, because hayin rebusa, anything that's for the sake of the child, Chazal, we're not goes there, and it's gonna be mutter to give him. What happens if there is no katan? So then what should you do if there's no katan? How much should you drink? Then you should drink at least a revis. Why should you drink a revis? Because if you drink less than a revis, you're drinking before Kiddush. If you drink a revis, so then at least you're Yotzei Kiddush B'Makom Suda. Can you go back home and be Motzi your people at home? Yes. Why? Because Shiyatza, mostly you can be Yotzei. What?
It still doesn't answer the thing that it's not, it doesn't give a chinuch
In a chanami, because since you're right, you're not being, it's not
explain to your kid.
If your kids are there, let them drink.
Since you're a katan, absolutely. Since you're a katan, you're still not strong enough. That's all. So Chazal were allowed you to absolutely.
In that case, without
So that was the mechlokas, meaning if you need both. So look at the Shari Tzino of your he quotes if it's enough to have a revius, or if it's enough to have. If it's enough to have, I think it was here. If it's enough to have. thing also.
Tiyuma be'al Nasagi.
So it's in here or it's in the
Yeah,
next
here,
one?
Belio Rada.
How about somebody in his 90s?
So it's like
Okay, that's what
it's
I'm
out.
Belio Rada. Alex, no?
Right. So the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch writes that we saw the Sharet Sin by in Reis Ayin Gimel. That Kiddush B'Makom Suda, if you're being yotzi, if you're drinking wine to be considered a Suda, so then you should be machmer to have at least 2 of these. But the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch writes that in Shul is this small posting, so the speaking stuff Levit Achat Shivyayin because of Kiddush. It's enough to have one. What?
Before Shkia.
Before Shkia, because if it's already Shkia, what's up? You can't run home, you can't say Adlikus in there, you can't say all these different things. However, we saw the tour, and the Mishnah Berurah quotes this, says that another reason to say B'Yom Madlikin is to say it when it's in order to stall for time. And if so, you don't necessarily need to say it before Baruch. When can you say it? You can say it after Shemona Esrei. And then the Aruch HaShulchan quoted that a lot of people don't even say B'Yom Madlikin. Why don't they say B'Yom Madlikin? Because there's no reason to say it. And they say a different thing of Kigavna, the Scottish, Shleimar, Baruch Hashem. Right, so that's I think that's what most people say also. but what? Just like that, exactly. Yeah. So that was Siman Ayin Reish, and that's the din of Kiddush of B'Yom Madlikin. Then we got up to Siman Reish Ayin Aleph, which is what's the din of Kiddush. So the Mechaber says, when you come to your house, you should quickly, right away, make sure to make Kiddush. And we saw that it's a mitzvah d'oraisa to be mekadesh the day. It says Zachar b'shamar, Zachar Zachreyo alayayin. Alayayin is a din d'Rabbanan, but the Zachar is to remember Shabbos, and that is the din d'oraisa that a person needs to remember Shabbos. How? And the Rambam says b'divrei shebach ve Udaya, right? Like your Kiddush for Shabbos. Shabbat v'Kiddush, right? Then you're being Mekadesh the day. I mean, you're saying today is different. And Shabbat, you're giving it praise, and we're going to see that's going to be enough to know whether you're allowed, whether you're Yotzei, your King of Kiddush, just by saying the Shabbat. So that's the Mechaber. That's the din of midoraisa. There's a chiv doraisa to recite Kiddush. The question is, are your Yotzei, your chiv of Kiddush midoraisa by davening your tefillah of Shemona Esrei? Comes the Magen Avraham and he says, you are Yotzei your chiv of Kiddush Shemona Esrei because in Kiddush you're saying Sheva, in Shemona Esrei you're saying Sheva, you're saying Kiddush, you're saying today's Shabbos, today's a holy day, it's separate from all the other days, right? So that's going to be considered Kiddush. Comes the Sefer Chinuch, where the Minchas Chinuch, and he says you're missing a whole Gemara. There's a Gemara that says that you're only, and this is what you were saying before, that the whole Chiv of Kiddush, you're only going to be Yotzei Chiv of Kiddush. You need to do 2 things: Shevach Kiddush and Zeichel Tziyas Time. And even the Rambam yourself that you quoted, he's talking to the Magen Avraham in Sefer HaMitzvahs, when he quotes the mitzvah of Kiddush, he includes over there Zeichel Tziyas Time. So of course you can't be Yotzei your Chiv of Kiddush when it comes to the Tefillah Shemona Esrei. But the Magen Avraham passes that you are Yotzei your Chiv of Kiddush, and the way the Biur Halacha tries to reconcile it is that it could be your Yotzei your Chiv of Zeichel Tziyas Time through the Ma'ariv Shemona Esrei, and therefore through the Ma'ariv, like the section in Ma'ariv Ashkivenu, Vemun, and all that things, that together is going to be considered. It says if you mention Zeichel Tziyas Time and you mention Kiddush Shabbat, and therefore you're your Chiv of Kiddush. Lamaisa, how do we pass it? So the Mishnah Berurah says that if you show up home after davening and you're full, it's a winter Friday afternoon, and you had a bris that morning and you're stuffed. What's the din? He says you don't need to make Kiddush right away. Why? Because you can rely on the Magen Avraham, since you daven Ma'ariv. And the din is, in Sefer Aleph, the Mechaber says, when you come to your house, you need to eat. You need to eat right away in order to make Kiddush right away. He says, but if you're ready full, so comes the Mishnah Berurah and says, in such a case, you do something on the Magen Avraham, and wait till what? Wait till you're not full anymore. Why? Because your Yotzei, your Chiv of Kiddush, already when it came to Shemona Esrei, when you davened the Ma'ariv Shemona Esrei. However, comes the Shulchan Aruch, and comes the Mishnah Berurah later on, and he says that if a katan, that if you daven the Ma'ariv and you don't want to say Kiddush, so a Katan cannot be Yotzi you in Kiddush. Why? Right? Meaning, what's the logic that it should? The logic that it should is that according to the Magen Avraham, since I already made Kiddush, so my Chiyuv Doraisa now just dropped from a Doraisa just to Dorabanan of, I need to say Kiddush on the wine. Right? That's the only thing I'm missing. The Kiddush on the wine. My Chiyuv Doraisa of Kiddush I'm Yotze. So a Katan, who's also just Mechoy Midrabanan, he should be allowed to recite Kiddush for me on wine. I should be Yotze by Chiyuv Dorabanan. Because the Dorabanan could be Motzi Dorabanan. So he says, according to the Magen Avraham, the Taka, you should be able to hear Kiddush from a Katan. But the Mishnah Berurah rejects this, and he says, why? He says, because most people in this space in the Kiveger, he says, most people, when we daven Shemona Esrei, they were not thinking to what? They have the Kavanah, be Yotze the Chiyuv of Kiddush. And the Ksav Sofer, he goes to ask the part, he says, it says, if Chazal stipulated that you're not Yotze by the Shemona Esrei, why? Because they want you to be Mekayim, the Chiyuv of Kiddush, on wine, like the most Lechatchila way. So therefore, comes the Mishnah Berurah, and he says that you cannot rely on the Magen Avraham in such a case. So we said, what's the difference? Why over here, at the entrance of Shabbos, when you're full, you can rely on the Magen Avraham and not make Kiddush right away. And over here, you cannot rely on the Magen Avraham. So we said basically that the Mishnah Berurah is going to be makel to hold like the Magen Avraham if you're not going to abolish your Chiyuv of Kiddush. Meaning if Kiddush is still around, and you're not going to abolish your Chiyuv of Kiddush, oh wow, you should go. Amazing. Park chillin'.
Thank you, Ricky. Ricky, you don't have to say it was par.
Okay. So,
Amazing. We should just do the same right now.
no, on a Doraisa, so since the Machlokas of Kiddush Machlokas is within Doraisa or not, Lamaisa, the way the Shulchan Aruch passes, it seems that Kiddush Machlokas is not a Chiyuv Doraisa. It's part of it. And therefore, you're going to your Chiyuv Doraisa of Zakreu, right? Zafar, Shem Shabbos, and Kashel. You did it. Right? So we said that the Mishnah Berurah is going to rely on the Magen Avraham if it's not going to cause you to abolish saying Kiddush. Meaning, if you're just going to delay the saying of Kiddush, so then we can rely on the Magen Avraham. But if you're not going to say Kiddush at all and you're going to be Yotzi from the Katan, so then the thing is that we're not going to rely on the Katan, even though later on we're going to see soon that we might use it for other things. Comes the Mechaber and says base, and he says that women are also mechuyev in Kiddush. Why are women also mechuyev in Kiddush? Because it says Zachar b'shamar kol she'esno be zechira yet yeshno be zechira. Meaning, whoever is mechuyev to keep all the lavin, which women are not proper for a mitzvah seis Shman Rama, they're also mechuyev in the Kiddush, in the Zachar, which is the Kiddush itself. The nusach of the certificate has Zachar Shem Shabbos.
What?
Yeah, every time. So we put the nusach.
Ooh.
Yeah, to keep it spicy. It looks the same. For the non-SCPI, they're going to walk through the road, they all look the same.
We need to underline it.
You have to see each word is
Underline it
different.
or something.
What?
You gotta underline it. Every time I gotta remember which one. You gotta
No, it's a whole different. It's not a whole different. It's a little bit.
You signed them this time, right?
Am I signing? No. In America, I think some of their I asked them if they want to sign.
Yeah.
And some of them did, some of them didn't.
Rabbi, if you want us to hang them on the wall, so you gotta give us a frame that has a thing to hang on the wall.
Is there a big thing on the wall?
It's a standing one. I'm just saying.
It's just a standing one?
Yeah.
No. You got. You have to move the thing over.
Yeah, let's do the thing up. Have you ever hung? Listen.
We'll make a video of it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll make a video how to hang it on the wall.
Tutorial.
You first have to put a nail in. You know that.
Can you do the nail through the glass?
Standing one.
Okay. Fine. So comes the Mechaber and basically says that women are mechuyev midoraisa in the chiyuv of Kiddush, and therefore, what's the din of katan cannot be motzi them? Why? Because the katan is only mechuyev midorabanan. However, comes the Mishnah Berurah, and he says not only could a katan not be motzi a woman in Kiddush, even a gadol, meaning a kid who just bar mitzvah, can't be motzi a woman in Kiddush. Why is that? Because the katan, this is a huge nafkamina. If you ever present the you should be making bar mitzvahs for your children, for your grandchildren, for your cousins, or whatever it is, right? So a lot of times they want to have the bar mitzvah, want to make Kiddush. What's the din? You should not be making Kiddush. Why should you not be making Kiddush? Because you can't be motzi all the women, all the people who are mechuyev in midoraisa. Why? Because since we only rely on chazaka to get beisaros if it's by din derabanan, but by din deraisa we don't rely on chazaka, and therefore he he should not be making kiddush unless the mother already davened marib, the woman davened marib. So then we're going to rely on the Magen Avraham. The Mishnah says that you can rely on the Magen Avraham that's a katan the gadol, who's the gadol. Then we're going to rely on the chazaka that he can be motzi.
What if the Hasidish now went to the mikveh before Shabbos?
Until he has the beard. Yeah.
What if the Hasidish now went to the mikveh before Shabbos? So there's no suffix.
If there's no suffix and you know, great. So thank you, yeah, great. Who knew that halacha before this man? That a bar mitzvah boy can't be motzi. You knew it? That a bar mitzvah boy cannot make kiddush? Amazing.
What other things?
What? He's part of the meaning. All those things that are up on it, we rely on the chazak.
Can't hang the two down the wall.
A bar mitzvah boy who just turned bar mitzvah cannot be motzi someone who has a chiyuv deraisa of kiddush. Someone we didn't daven.
It can be motzi if the men and women daven married.
If the men and women daven married, he can't be motzi. Why? Because then it drops to derabanan, and then we're going to be rely on the chazaka and the Magen Avraham together in order to be motzi. On Shabbos, even if it's after Shabbos, if the bar mitzvah was on Sunday and it's now Shabbos, he still can't make kiddush for everyone.
Until what?
Until he has a beard.
So can we just what's the maker adin of a status of a person saying that's the davening mariv? Because we just said Chasam Sofer says that you're bevadei not yotzei at all kiddush, and now we're saying that we're relying that they were yotzei
and
kiddush.
Rabbi Akiva Eiger say that be'ikra adin you're not yotzei your chiyuv of kiddush. Why? Because you didn't have kavanah to be. The Magen Avraham says, anyways, since you said today's Shabbos, even though you didn't have kavanah that this is the kiddush, but you made kiddush, right?
So
you said today was so.
When they're talking about the katan, we're assuming not like the Chasam Sofer.
We're assuming right. Correct. Meaning the Magen, and that's how the Magen Avraham held. Magen Avraham had that once you daven, bistama, that's your chiyuv of kiddush.
Ber Halacha didn't really like the Magen Avraham.
The Ber Halacha didn't really like the Magen Avraham, but he brings them in the Mishnah Berurah as a tziruf to be meko.
Like
the Mishnah Berurah, like his whole what?
It would be a b'diavad situation to rely on the Magen Avraham, like rely on the Magen Avraham, just stop. The Mishnah Berurah doesn't go with him glad.
He doesn't go with him glad. If there's a tziruf or other things, so then he'll go with
What did we say about bar mitzvah, the bar mitzvah boy?
What?
What did we say about bar mitzvah, the bar mitzvah boy?
Still can't.
Oh, so bar mitzvah boy, that was the Shulchan Aruch Kiddush, that he also can't be motzi him if you never heard kiddush yet. If it's a doraisa, why? Because it could be one is it's like
Same reason as women.
Same exact svara. Right? It could be that one of them has
something
big
like a
saras.
woman.
Right, meaning it could be the one that's making kiddush doesn't have big saras, so the other one does. Therefore he can't be motzi. Therefore he can't be motzi him. Fine. Then we discussed it then. What? Why? We have a lot to go? Hopefully we'll finish. Let's see. Okay.
Stay here until 12, right?
We'll stay here until 12. We can't stay here until 12 because we have to be out of the building by 10. One more shiur. Okay, comes so we saw what's the din of saying good Shabbos. Could it be yotzi or chiyuv of good Shabbos? We saw the Bir Halacha quotes Rabbi Akiva Eiger, who Rabbi Akiva Eiger says that you could be yotzi or chiyuv of kiddush by saying what?
Good Shabbos.
However, the Bir Halacha argues, he says it's not considered kiddush because there's no Sheva. All there is kiddush. Kiddush means we saw it separate. So we say good Shabbos. So you're saying today is different, but there's no Sheva. What's the Sheva? So the Sheva is that you so therefore the Bir Halacha held that you're not yotzi or chiyuv of kiddush. Comes to Shevet Levi and says you are yotzi or chiyuv of kiddush only if what?
You have kavanah.
Only if you have kavanah. But he says why is it considered Sheva? He says since you don't say good Sunday, good Monday, good Tuesday, so therefore it is a din of Sheva for the kiddush itself, and therefore it's going to be considered kiddush. And however, like you said beautifully, that it's only going to be what? Only if you have kavanah
To be yotze.
However, what about Shavuot Tov? Shavuot Tov, we saw only one opinion that was quoted in Tzitz Eliezer that it's going to be enough. But Yid Maisa was Machmir, and he says that Shavuot Tov is not considered Avdal, but still you're allowed to get in the cab after Shabbos because that was Stitum for Avdal. Fine. Comes the Mechaber in Seif Gimel. We're in Reisai Aleph Seif Gimel. Right. So we spoke about Arvis briefly. I skipped it now. But basically, we said that how could if a man was yotze his chiyuv of kiddush in shul or whatever he heard kiddush, how could he come home? So the thing is that afa pishi yatsa motzi, meaning that even though a person was yotze his chiyuv, he can still be motzi other people, like we saw a lot, right? That a person like making kiddush and using a drink, you're not eating a drink. So that's what we saw. The whole din was: is there a din of arvis for women? What does that mean? It says Kol Yisrael Areivim Zal Zeh. That since we're all intertwined. So even though I was Yotzei mitzvah, I could be Motzi other people. So we saw the Prima Gadam was Mesupah. But the Sharatzin, he says, in which direction was the Mesupah? It was Mesupah that if a woman was Yotzei her bracha, can she be Motzi a man? Right? But everyone agrees, that's where there's the machlokas, whether a woman has arvis. But everyone agrees that there's arvis in the other direction, that a man that was Motzi could be Motzi his wife in the chiyuv of Kiddush. So that was the whole din, the whole siga of arvis. Comes the Chaim to the Kimmel and says like this. אם אין ידו משגת לקנות יין לקידוש ולהכין צורכי שבת לכבוד הלילה ולכבוד היום לקידוש היום מוטב שיקנה יין לקידוש הלילה ממה שיכין צורכי סעודה. A person only has money, he has one bottle left, or he comes home and there's only one bottle. When should you use that wine? Should you use it at night, or should you use it during the day? The day is you should use it at night, because at night there's a chiv d'oraisa of Kiddush, and even though you're yotze chiv d'oraisa already, maybe by davening or whatever, still the din of Kiddush al yayin is more chashuv, and therefore you should be making Kiddush on the wine at night. What would you do tomorrow? So either Chamar Medina, or you'll make Kiddush on the bread, which even though we saw that you shouldn't, right? Another thing we saw is that and the Mishnah Berurah says, and the Shulchan Aruch says that even though you need to be mechabed the day meal more. Why do you need to be mechabed the day meal more? Because that's the Ikar Suda. What? There's more Shabbos. That's Ikar Suda. Still, when it comes to Kiddush, you should be Yotzei Kiddush. The Kiddush of night is a lot more important. Then we quoted the Aruch HaShulchan, who says that this whole din that the day Seudah has more chashivas than the night Seudah is only if the quality of the food is going to stay the same for the day Seudah. Meaning, if you have wine, it's not going to change between the night and the day. You have a nice bottle, you enjoy it both at night and during the day, open it once during the day. If you have fruit that doesn't change, open it, use it during the day. However, if you have like a roast that's like fresh out of the oven, and by the daytime you're sticking it in the fridge and put it on the pot, that's not going to be as geschmack as right out of the oven. So then the din of being mechabe, the day meal more than the night meal, should not come on the mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos. Right? It shouldn't come on the cheshbon of Oneg Shabbos, and therefore you should be allowed to you're allowed to eat the more chashuv thing at night if it's going to lose its quality during the day. Comes the mechaber tzif dalid. What?
2 wines, so the better wine should save the day.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. Comes the mechaber tzif dalid. Asuli tom klum kodem shekedesh. You're not allowed to eat anything before you drink. A few wine, water, but feeling mitchim v'vod yom. Tzich lafsik, and that was the whole din of Kol Mapa, which we skipped those old dinim, but the din is you're not even allowed to drink water. We saw what about you're allowed to rinse your mouth, and we saw that rinse in your mouth. From now you're allowed to take medicine to drink water because it's the same din that you won't make a bracha on rinsing. You don't make a bracha on things that you take that you're swallowing for pills. So also for this, you're not. It's going to be mutter. The Shmei Shabbos still says that if a woman was mekabel Shabbos, obviously before Shkia, during that time before Shkia, she's still allowed to drink water if she's going to be mitzvah. We skipped Sifim Hey and Vav and Zayin, and then we got the Sif Chaz. Comes from the Sif Chaz. It says Lo Kiddush B'Layil if you didn't make Kiddush Night, Ben B'Shov B'Kim Mizit. Yes, with Tashlumin L'Machal Kol Hayom. Omer Kol Kiddush L'Layla Mivad L'Echul. Meaning, what does that mean? At night we say Baruch Adonai Hashem Elokeinu Melech Haolam Asher Kiddush Shabbos Yisrael V'Ratzavanu. Shabbos Kol Shabbat V'Ratzavanu. Right? That whole thing. If you didn't say that at night, this happened a lot. On Purim, when Purim falls out on Friday in Yerushalayim, you have guys that get totally shmashed. They wake up in the morning. It's like they're in a different world. What's the din? When they recite Kiddush, they need to recite a full Kiddush. Right? And full Kiddush. What's the din by a Baal Tshuva? This is Tzarchin. Right? If you have someone who's not a Baal Tshuva, someone who's coming to your house, who's not religious, but he's coming only during the day meal, and he's not going to be there, he didn't hear the night meal, so what should you be doing? Should you be making a night Kiddush, or should you be making a day Kiddush? So that's Tzarchin. I don't know exactly what's going to be the din with that. Comes the Mechaber and Tziv test. And he says, what? I don't know. Comes the Chamer and Tziv test. And he says like this. Tzarich sheteh mapa al hashulchan ptachat hapat u'mapa acher p'usal gabar. You need to have one on the bottom and one on top of the challah. Why do you need to cover the challah? So we saw 2 reasons of why you need to do challah. Either because of Zeichel Laman, that was the second reason, or because not to embarrass the bread. What does it mean not to embarrass the bread? Since Me'ikra Din, the bracha of Hamotzi comes before the bracha of Borei Pri Hagafen, and you're now making Kiddush on what? On the Borei Pri Hagafen, so therefore you should cover the challah in order not to insult the bread. So those are the 2 reasons that we saw in the Shulchan Aruch of why you need to cover the challah. You need to cover the challah. What? So the bottom is more Zeichel Laman, right? And the top one is more is either embarrassment or because of
the one had on top
right?
also?
So what's the 2 nafka or a few nafkaminas that we saw? Nafkamina number 1 is the minute you're done saying Kiddush, could you voila, take it off, right? You're going to wash, you don't want to schlep back, you take it off. So if you hold that it's Zeichel Laman, so maybe it's best to keep it on. right? But if you hold that it's just not to embarrass the challah, so then you can take it off. You're done kiddush. Kiddush is over. That was one nafkamina we saw. Another nafkamina that we saw is making kiddush on bread. If you're making kiddush on bread, Shabbos night, right? Do you need to cover it or not?
No.
So since you're making kiddush on bread, so there's no grape juice. There's no grape juice. But there's no wine, so you're not embarrassing it. There's no kedima. It is getting the kedima. But for the din of zeichel aman, you should cover it. Shalosh shudis was another nafkamina, right? Shalosh shudis, there's no kiddush. So since there's no kiddush, do you need to cover it or not? Depends on the two reasons. Another reason was a plastic see-through cover, which is what we saw. We saw there we saw a little bit of a machlokas, right? We saw that the Chazara says that me'ikra din, a plastic shouldn't work. Why should it not work? Because it can see, if it can see, it's going to vary. But if Shlomo Zalman says that it's not so much it didn't see, it's a din in covering, right? That it's covered. And the Lamaisa, this is a big nafkamina in kiddushim or sometimes at home, right? Sometimes at home you have the challah that like you buy and it's in the plastic. You need to cover it. Or you have a kiddushim, they buy like the kichel. You know, I'm talking about like those sugar things, like the bow ties, right? So those come in the plastic package, and if you're in a fancy kiddush in the 5 towns, they take it out and they make it nice. But if you're in a regular kiddush, you just like dump it out on the table and it's already covered. So we're going to see if you need to cover that or not. We're going to get to that in a second also if you need some cover. So that was one afkin. Another afkin is the yeshiva or simcha. Basically, you have the guy making kiddush, the old zayd is making kiddush over here, and the whole community or whatever, all the guests are sitting where they are. Do you need to cover the challah that's in front of you? So comes, I think it was the chutshani, and he says that you need to. Why? A, for zeichel aman, and B, not to embarrass the challah. But Shlomo Zalman said that the minhag is not to, because he said that it could be that the whole din of covering the challah, not to embarrass it, is only on who? On the person who's making the kiddush. So the person who's making the kiddush, he needs to cover the challah. But my challah that's in front of me, I don't need to cover it. And also zeichel aman, I'm yotzei with his zeichel aman. We don't need every single person in the whole house to do zeichel aman, right? So therefore Shlomo Zalman's opinion was that the minhag is not. And this is a big nafkamina when especially if you're going to like someone's house or whatever it is, and it's a nice, and you see that the woman spent like 15 hours, you know, folding the napkins and the cups and putting it around, and then everyone comes, all that work's just like down the drain. So if you see that it's going to bother her, she wants to keep it longer, so then you have a Shlomo Zalman who says that the minhag is not. Meaning the person who's making kiddush should cover his challah. The other person not. What about mizonos during the kiddush? So the Shiur Shabbos also writes that you should you should cover the mizonos while you're making kiddush. However, in the footnote he quotes in the name of Shlomo Zalman that the chiyuv is only on who? On the kaddish. If I'm making kiddush, so then I need to cover the challah that's in front of me. But if I'm not making kiddush, I go to the mizonos that's in front of me. If I'm not making kiddush, I go to a shul. The rav, the chazan, whoever is making kiddush, I'm already by the herring table, positioning myself, you know, to make sure I'm in a good spot. So if that's the case, so then I do not need to cover the challah in front of me, because again, for the same reasons as the offer for the simcha, that I'm not making kiddush, so I don't need to cover the mizonos. Right, in the din of zeichel aman, that the guy who himself he's making the kiddush, he's going to be yotzei zachiv. So those really good. Anyone who would drink from the kosher bracha would be pashtus would need to cover it because of the thing. Correct.
What's the reason you mentioned before that the father would use two crackers?
Oh, so that was what Shlomo Zalman said in the Shiur Shabbos still. So he quoted that it was because of the right.
Some make kiddush and didn't cover the wine, didn't cover the challah. Now he remembers while he's.
So you should cover it for zeichel aman at least. That's another nafkamina. Very good, right? Another nafkamina. You forgot to cover the challah. Should you cover it and you already made kiddush? Should you cover it when? Should you cover it now? Is there a purpose to cover it now? So yeah, there's a person who's zeichel aman, and that. So we saw the Mishnah Berurah says that he quotes I think Chayadim or someone that you should have the challah covered up until you make a motzah. A lot of times people come to the table and they go. He says that you should keep it on throughout the bracha. That's more zeichel aman. The Maisa, you could take it off also. That sheet is also brought in the Mishnah Berurah. But he quotes the tinfoil as a kisur, right?
You don't need to have it covered.
On top of it, meaning it's nice. Maybe we'll cover Shabbos to make it look nice. But
you can't be fully covered in
there's a question if you can cover it in tinfoil and put on the plant.
Stay tuned to SCP.
But so that was Sif Tes. Comes the Mechaber Sif Yod. Mekadesh al kosh malei yain. You make a kiddush on
full cup of wine.
the challah me'ikar din should be on the table. Ikar din it should. Does it need to be on the table? Me'ikar din it's better for it to be on the table. There's another reason of why to cover the challah. The other reason to cover the challah is that back in the day they used to make kiddush and then they used to bring the meal, the table. But yeah, I think today we're mocking to have the challah.
The Gra doesn't.
Gra doesn't? Gra does not. You ever need to know anything with the Gra?
The Gra doesn't make a kiddush either.
I mean,
First means kiddush.
comes down Mechaber and Sivyon. It says Mekadesh al kos maleh yain. You make the cup should be full to the top. Meaning you need at least a revis. But if you have a kosher el it should be to the top, right? And if you don't have enough to fill up the kosher el it's important it's a smaller cup. And shelo ye pagum. The cup's not pagum. What does it mean pagum? So we saw two things. Pagum meaning the wine itself should not be pagum, meaning someone drink from it. And it has the din of a kosher bracha. What's the din of a kosher bracha? The din of a kosher bracha, there the Mishnah Berurah lists a whole bunch of things, which we ourselves, and he quotes from Kuf Begimel, and we ourselves also went to Kuf Begimel. But again, let's just say like this. First thing the Shulchan Aruch says is that the cup needs to be filled to the top. Second of all, it cannot be pagum. Pagum means that someone did not drink from it. If someone did drink from it, how do you fix the begima? Either add water or add wine. When you're adding water, make sure that you already didn't dilute it beforehand. Meaning if it's like fully diluted, now you're adding even more water. So now it could be exclusive the shame of wine, but the Pashas, we don't need to worry about that today because most people don't dilute their grape juice or their wine. So that's legabe. That's legabe. The din. What if like a kid sticks his hand in it? Does that make it pagum? No, right? Because that's just maybe made dirty, but it's not. But it's not pagum. Then we saw here we listed a few dinim that need to have. So the first thing we saw is that the cup needs to be whole, meaning if it's chipped, especially on the lip. So then, l'chatchila, you shouldn't be using that cup. Only b'diavad, it's a good cup. So if you have your Alta Zaydas cup that survived, I don't know what, 1,000 years, but it's chipped on the top, l'chatchila, you shouldn't be using it. You should bring it to the silversmith, fix it.
The Jewish silversmith.
Or use another thing. Then we saw the machlokas when it comes to plastic cups. So Shlomo Zalman says Shlomo Zalman says you could use plastic cups, especially the hard ones. And Ramosha says that if it's like a paper cup, that was his lashon. So then you can't. So the question is, what's considered paper cup? Is paper cup like those Dixie paper cups, or is it like these flimsy ones? Do you remember like the Israeli plastic got a lot better? Like 10 years ago.
So did the napkins.
They wouldn't stand up.
It was like paper. It was like mom.
We used to make fun of the fact that the napkins in Israel were waterproof. They made these waterproof napkins.
Right, that's also true.
Move it around though.
But the Maisa, so that's the machlokas lagabi when it comes to plastic. So again, today they have like these. You go to Kiddushin and they have these like hard plastic ones that look like a becher. You ever seen those?
Yeah.
Right. So that you pick up, you're like, oh right, check out. So the Maisa, it would seem that both according to Shlomo Zalman and according to Ramosha, those would be good because those already have a chashivas. The Maisa, the best thing is to have it. What about a double one? We didn't discuss double so much. Yeah, I don't know if double helps. It doesn't.
It helps if you want to drink from the cup and it's not public. Because you want to know which one.
So you know which one.
It's not my machron.
That's true. Fine. So that was one thing. Then another thing we saw that it needs hadachah. It needs to be washed on the inside and the outside. Mishnah Berurah says that if it's already clean, meaning if your wife or you washed it right away and with Shabbos, you stuck it in the cabinet and it's clean, just like any other cup that you take out of your cupboard. So then you don't need to wash it. But we saw in the Aruch HaShulchan that he quoted you should always do hadachah on Kiddush. So then we brought in the Kiddush cup and we said that when you make Kiddush, what should you do? You should pick it up with two hands, and then you should move it and grab it with one hand. All this is the so-called shivas to the mitzvah that you do. And the Shlosh says that you should be holding it from the bottom, Kabbalah, that it should be up. And another thing we saw that it should be at least what? A tefach off the table much higher, right? So those were all the dinim that we saw when it came to Malach's Kiddush. Whose Kiddush this year was better than last year? So much better, right? A whole different experience. When you're learning, I'm saying, when you're learning the halacha, and you're and then you actually do the mitzvah, it's like a whole different mitzvah. It's a whole. You have the achana before, and you're learning the reasons before, and then you come and do the mitzvah. Rabbi Ephraim Goldberg, when I was in Boca, so when I left, he emailed me. He texted me. He said he forwarded me an email of someone who was in the shiur. They were learning now Tevilas Kelim. So he said, and they just took the test. So a guy in his tabur emailed him. He said, Rabbi, I just went to Tova my Kelim. He said it was the first time I went to Tova Kelim since I started learning the sugya. He said, and the whole mitzvah, it was a completely different mitzvah. He says, first of all, I knew some of the reasons behind why I'm doing what I'm doing. Then second of all, I knew all the halachas, all the dinim. He says, I was learning as I was dipping in the mikvah. It wasn't just like, okay, I'm doing the mitzvah. It was mamish. It changed my whole chiyas. I think which is something that's amazing, right? Which is what you're all witnessing when you're learning the halacha and then you're mekayim the mitzvah. It's a whole different mitzvah. It's not,
It'll be hard to concentrate on davening because we're thinking
Okay. Fine. So that was.
Then you catch yourself in the wrong
That
time.
was that was Sif Yud, and then the rest of Sif Yud is whether you need to stand or sit. The Shulchan Aruch says, the Mashal from the Shulchan Aruch, that you stand, at least in the Beis Yosef, that you should stand by Kiddush. The Kabel Shabbos Malkusa, but the Ramah says that it's best to sit, except for when you say Vayar Vayivokar. When you say Yom HaShisha V'Chil HaShemayim, which is Rosh Tevos of Yud Kibavke, and that's when you should be standing. But the rest you should be sitting in order for it to be considered Kiddush B'Makom Seuda. So that was Sif Yud. That was Sif Yud. Yeah, you have a question, Sif Yud?
We discussed in that specific sentence, saying the whole sentence. We are in the human process.
No, you said you were going to discuss it, but you never did.
So what?
You said you were going to mention saying the whole pasuk, not saying half the pasuk.
So yes, you're saying, why do people
The
start
Yarla
the
Kamesh Kalash
The
Yasa.
Yarla is also in the middle of the passage.
Right.
Right. I said we're going to discuss that?
You mentioned, somebody mentioned it then, and you said you were going to discuss it, but you never did.
If you should be saying the whole passage.
Right.
Meaning, it seems that, right, so Sidurim have it. Lamaisa, there's a din, right? There's a din that called pasuk Moshe Anan Lupaskina. Meaning you're not allowed to stop a pasuk that stop a pasuk in the middle. The question is, if that is only if people don't know, or even if people do know. Meaning, if you're stopping a pasuk in the middle, and then people are now going to think that's where the sucks, like the Kaaba goes, or that's like the beginning of the pasuk. So some poskim say only when it's like a not well-known pasuk. But if it's a well-known thing, so then you can stop in the middle. It also has enough meaning with songs. So all these songs that have like half a second inside, it's a shayla.
Is this a Torah?
Sorry, yeah, I didn't answer that question. I just stayed 2 minutes.
Is those a Torah? Is those a Torah?
Yeah. Fine. So that was the din of whether you need to stand or sit. We're going to get back to Yud Aleph in a minute. Comes the Mechaber in Sif Yud Beis, and he quotes. There's the Machlokas whether you need to wash before Kiddush or if you need to make Kiddush and then wash. That was the Machlokas Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah. The Ramah says, like the Yek is, that it's best to do what? To wash and then to make Kiddush. Just in parentheses, we'll say this now. If you remember when we learned Kiddush B'Makom Suda, so what did we say? We say, is Kiddush B'Makom Suda, is it a din in the Kiddush or is it a din in the Suda, right? If some hold that it's a din in the Kiddush. So whenever I'm making Kiddush, in order to sell Chashivas for the Kiddush, I need to do what? I need to eat something with it. Or some other people say that it's a din in what? In the Suda. So, what? So Eli sent me Rabbi Stein Shiur, where he quoted and he said that these two, and I was listening to it, it was amazing. I actually met him in YU. I told him, and he said, so he said that these two Ramahs are l'shitaso, because he held that, or he was quoting from someone well that the Ramah paskin that the din of Kiddush B'Makom Suda is a din in the Seuda, right? Like what we learned in the Rav, right? That it's a din in the Seuda itself, meaning that whenever you have a Seuda with bread, then you need to have Kiddush in order to show that this Kiddush is different. And therefore, the Ramah says that what should you do? You should also sit, right? If Kiddush B'Makom Suda is the din in the Seuda, so what should you be doing? You should be sitting. And if Kiddush B'Makom Suda is the din in the Seuda, so then when should I be saying Kiddush? In the middle of the Seuda. So what should I be doing first? First wash your hand, then make Kiddush, and then go right into the Seuda. It makes it more B'Makom Suda. So shkaya for that Ma'ar when I added it to the notes. That's Lagabe. So that was Lagabe Sif Yud Beis. Sif Yud Gimel. The Mechaber says you need to drink a Malei Lugmav, right? That a person that Tzarech Lishtos Mikoshel Bracha Kimal Lugmav. 2 reasons why you need to have a Malei Lugmav. Either for Yishuv Adas, that you need like a mouthful in order to feel satiated, or to sow chashivas to the cup. Meaning if you just drink a little bit and you put it down, so it feels like you're being mezalzel in the mitzvah. So two different reasons, and we'll get to the nafkamina shortly. Then the Mechaber in Sif Yud Dalet says, let's say, what?
Is that more than a reviz?
That's much less than a reviz. It's a real reviz. Yeah. You need to make kiddush on a reviz. That's the minimum amount. How much of that do you need to drink? A malulukma, which is a cheekful, which we're going to see how much is a cheekful?
Depends on the person.
2/3 of a reviz, but really depends on the person, right? It depends on, but not more than a reviz.
Nobody says you need to drink the whole cup.
No one says you need to drink the whole cup. By Dalit Kosus, there are shittas that you need to drink the whole cup. By Kiddush, there's no shittas like that. So that's the gabe. That's the gabe. That, and then in Sif Yud Dalet, we saw that let's say you don't want to drink, you're sick or whatever it is you want to drink. So could you have someone else drink it? So we saw from the Gonim Lechatchila when it comes to Kiddush, what's the din? You should really be drinking at least a malulugma. So that's Lechatchila what you should be doing. You should be drinking a malulugma. If you can't drink a malulugma, so then you can give it out to someone else. Now the question is, there's another machlokas if one person there needs to have a Mala Lugma, or we could be Mitzvah, if everyone's Mala Lugma, everyone's dropped to a Mala Lugma. What's the nafkamina? The nafkamina is, what's the tushita? Based on the reason of why you need a Mala Lugma. If the din is to so chashivas, so then every single person who's drinking a little bit, it's mitzvah to Mala Lugma, that shows chashivas. Because everyone is being torn, everyone says, I want a piece of this kiddush, right, from the Rebbe's kiddush, from the kiddush itself. That shows chashivas to the cup. But if it's a din of Yishuv Adas, so that no one's having a Yishuv Adas when they're drinking a little drop, right? So therefore, that's going to be that's the two tzdadim in this machlokas of whether you can give it out. But again, we saw that lamaisa meikra din. What should you be doing when it comes to the kiddush at night? You should be machmir to drink a Mala Lugma. Remember, we saw that with Kiv Eger, who says that when you're making kiddush for someone else and they're having a seuda and they're eating the seuda, the din is that you don't need to drink. And on the contrary, if you didn't make kiddush yet, you should not drink. If you didn't make kiddush, you also don't need to drink. She says, why not? Doesn't the Mekadosh need to drink at least a Mala Lugma like the Geonim? That's what we saw here. So there he answered that it depends if you're being Yotze the Kiddush or not. If I'm being Yotze the Chiyuv of Kiddush and I'm not drinking, so then that's talking like a Zilzal or I need Yishuv Adas. But if I was already Yotze the Chiyuv of Kiddush, or even if I wasn't Yotze the Chiyuv of Kiddush, but I'm not being Yotze with this Kiddush, so then the Chiyuv of drinking the Mala Lugma is only if I'm being Yotze the Chiyuv of Kiddush. And that's what the Mechaber is talking about over here in this case. Then we saw that was Seif Yud Gimel. Then we saw Seif Yudal, where the Mechaber says, "Im not Dama Mekadesh." Oh no, that was Seif Yudal. Then we saw the Mechaber who says that mitzvah min a-mufchar sheitamu kulam. Right. So we started to discuss how much, what's the proper way of handing out the kiddush. Right. This is something that people do every single Shabbos, at least twice. Whether it's you and your wife, whether it's you and guests, whatever it is, what's the best way to give it out? So we had like 4 sifim over here, and we picked out the relevant halachos in order to try to find out what's the best way to give it out. So first, the Mechaber Tzif Yudal says mitzvah min milchor that everyone should drink. So that's talking the first clue that we have that every single person should be drinking. In Seif Tezvav, it says, I think that was the next one we saw, that it shouldn't be pagam. No, that was in Yudzayin. The next thing we saw was Seif Yudzayin. Mechaber says in Yudzayin, "En tzarich lishpoch mikosha mekadesh lekosot yain shelefanei hamishubim, ela im ken hayu bkumim, she'az tzarich lishpoch lekol hakos." Meaning, the mekadesh, if everyone has a cup of wine in front of them, I don't need to pour from my cup into your cup, unless your cup is what? Is pagam. And the Mishnah explains that even though it's just a mitzvah min a-mufchar for everyone to drink, if you're doing the mitzvah min a-mufchar, it should be what? At least that not pagam. So the two clues so far. First of all, everyone should drink, and when they're drinking, it should not be pagam. And then it's if Taz Zayin, we learned that if I'm making kiddush and everyone has wine already in front of them, they're allowed to drink before me. Why are they allowed to drink before me? Because they don't need my cup. But if they do need my cup, why would they need my cup? Either their cup is empty, or their cup is pagam. Then they shouldn't be drinking before the Mekadesh drinks. Why? Stam out ster charetz. And if you need someone else's cup, don't drink before that.
We'll share the status of the Mekadesh if you have your own kosher.
And then we saw from there, and this is what it was quoted in the Mishnah, that if everyone is holding a cup while the person is making kiddush, so then every single person, then those cup have a din of a kosher bracha. We didn't discuss if you need a revius or not in your cup, right? But pashas, most people just fill it up a little bit, and that's considered enough of a kosher bracha. So those were the few things I saw. And then we saw the Sharatzin recorded from the Rosh that even though when you drink from a cup it becomes pagam, if everyone drinks from that cup, if I pass that cup around, so then it's not pagam because it's as if everyone made kiddush with this cup, and therefore everyone's drinking from that cup itself, and it's not going to be a problem of pagima. Then in Seif Yud Aleph we saw comes the Mechaber in Seif Yud Aleph, which is what we skipped a minute ago. The Mechaber in Seif Yud Aleph says, that's you only had a revius plus a mali lugma. So what do? And you need 2 kiddushin, right? So the Shulchan Aruch Paskin says that you should make kiddush, right? You should pour a little bit out into a second cup and drink from that second cup. Why should you do that? Because if I drink from the original cup, what did I do to it? It's pagam, and now I can't use it tomorrow. Comes the Magen Avraham and he says, no, I have a better eitzah. Mishnah Berurah's eitzah is a good eitzah, and I have a better eitzah. What should he do? Pour a little bit out into a second cup. Which cup should you drink from? The first one, the Kiddush cup. Why? Because there's an idiot to drink from the Kiddush cup itself. There's an extra mile of drink from the Kiddush cup itself. Now you made it pagam. Mila, mazla, right? I poured out a little bit beforehand, and then I'm putting it back in, and then I'm fixing the pedima, and it's not going to be, a problem.
Shabbos day, not everybody has to do it.
Even Shabbos night, not everyone needs to drink. It's a mitzvah minimum.
Even Shabbos
You should
night
be
is
actually drinking
Yeah.
first.
Because it's a kosher bracha.
And the sacrifice is yes.
Why don't you just pour a little and the little.
So I think by wine it doesn't make a difference, but by red.
So just
remember
just pour a little.
Is there an issue with hefsek of the? Can you like give out to everybody?
So that's the thing. So then we discussed what are the ways. So based on all these things, we saw first of all it's a mitzvah minimum for everyone to drink. That's the first thing we saw. The second thing we saw. Is that it's a mitzvah minimum for everyone to drink and it should not be pugum. The third thing that we saw that you should drink from the kosher bracha itself. And then the fourth thing we saw is that if you need the Mekadesh's cup, so then what should you be? So then you shouldn't drink before he's drinking, right? So we saw like this. There's a few options on how to make Kiddush Friday night. So option number one is that you fill the cups of everyone's before you make Kiddush. That's what we saw in the Shulchan Aruch Harab, and all those cups are considered what? A kosher bracha. So that's the first option. One second. 4 options, right? Option number one, we saw you fill up everyone's cups. That's considered a kosher bracha. I make Kiddush. It's chal on everyone's cup. Everyone is considered a kosher bracha. Option number 2 is everyone, and this is the rush. Everyone drinks directly from the cup itself, right? We saw that's the most lechatchila according to Shlomo Zalman. That everyone should drink directly from the cup. Why? Because it's the actual kosher bracha. There's an inyan, and that's what we learned in Sifir Aleph. What did we learn in Sifir Aleph? In Sifir Aleph we learned that Me'ikra Adin you should be drinking from the kosher bracha. Because he says pour out a little bit and then drink from the kosher bracha and then fix the pegima. Right? So there's an extra added maila to drink from the kosher bracha itself. So that's the option number 2. Option number 3 we saw is that I make Kiddush and then I pour out to everyone else, making sure that I have what left in my cup? At least the revis. Why? Because it needs to have a chashivas. And that's also from Sifir Aleph. 1 second. I don't need to drink revis, I need to drink a mola lugma, but I need to drink from a revis. So I can pour it out to other cups, and then I drink a mola lugma from my revis. As the prima gadim, let's say I have 10 guests, and I'm making a kiddush on the kosher lel yo. So I have six reviuses in my kosher lel yo, and I have 10 people, 15 people that are eating in my house, right? So, what's the Eitzah that we just said? I make Kiddush. Don't drink from the cup, because if I drink from the cup, it makes it pugger, right? So what should I do? I can take and pour it to all the 10 or 15 people. And then what do I do? Since there's a revius left in my cup, I can still drink a mola lugma from it, and that's l'chatchila. As for Gadim, isn't that a half sink? And I'm pouring to a million different cups. So he says, no, it's not a half sink. Why is it not a half sink? Because since they need that in order for not to become pugger, so it's for the mitzvah itself. And therefore, it's not going to be considered half sink. Anything that you're doing for the mitzvah itself is not going to be considered. It's not going to be. I do not drink first. If I drink first, so then it makes a pugger, right? At least according to Shlomo Zalman. We saw that maybe the Shulchan holds that it doesn't make a pugger. But lemaisa, that's thing. The other option is the fourth option that we saw is that you can make Kiddush, drink a little bit from the cup, and then add more to your cup, and then that fixes the pagima, and then you can pour it around to everyone else. So those are things. But lemaisa, Shlomo Zalman holds that what's the best thing to do? To drink from the cup itself. Right? There's an added value. Most people don't do this. Lemaisa, we said that whatever you do is basically fine, unless you're giving them a cup of wine to drink. Right? But a lot of people, they'll pour into another cup and they'll drink from that cup. Right? The best thing to do is not to drink from your personal cup. The best thing to do is to pour a little bit into a cup. Right? Leave a revis in your cup and drink from the kosher bracha. That's the most lechatchila thing. And then use that cup that you just poured out to pour out to everyone else. Because that isn't pugum anymore. Yes?
Well, option number 1, does it need to have all the things? Does it have revi, have to be full to the top?
What do you mean option number 1? Where everyone drinks from it?
No.
Pour it out for
Oh, so that's what we didn't discuss this in the Chabur. It's a machlokas. Lamaisa, most people say that it's enough to have a little bit. And that seems like the minhag also. There are some folks who say that you should have at least the revius. It doesn't need to be full. And there's some people who say that it needs to be a kosher bracha.
So according to Pri Megadim, that's actually the difference between a mitzvah and Kiddush, because by Kiddush you are actually you don't want to give them a Kiddush
pugum, exactly. And since you need it, correct. And since you don't want to give them pugum, so it's part of the actual thing. So that's what we saw. Yes.
When you said that you should be drinking from a revius, there's no Indian of pouring from a revius, right? If I'm pouring into someone, do I have to pour from a kosher revius? If I have a half a revius, can I continue pouring around the table?
No, yeah, that's fine.
That's
Meaning, as long as you originally drink from a cup that had a revis. Right.
Or if you pour wine in my cup.
What? Some people say yes, but the common practice is that it's a roll by Madra's mouth. It's better to have one.
Or I can pour more wine
But
in my
let's
cup.
continue because we might have to go, and we have 2 simanim left. So that was, one second, let's just finish the Mechaber over here. It says, in Seif, I think it was, Tezvav, Seif Tezvav is what we do last. It says, Kiddush, Mekodim Shetam, Nifsik B'dibur. I made Kiddush and then I spoke. Chozer u'mevarech, Bar Priagaf, I need to make Bar Priagaf, and not tzarich lazor l'Kiddush. I don't need to make Kiddush. Why? Because the Hafsik was just on the Bar Priagaf, and I made Kiddush b'makom. I made Kiddush b'makom Sudan, I made Kiddush al Hayai. So I was doing tzimachim. Just the whole thing that was the Hafsik was the Bar Priagaf, and the same thing. What did she spach? Of course, Kodem sheita mimenu yavi kos acher u'mevarech alav Bar Priagaf. And you make Bar Priagaf, and then tzarich lazor l'Kiddush. But the Shiur says that if there's a crazy long Hafsik between everything, so then I would also have to go back and make Kiddush again. Comes the Mechaber, Simen Ayin Reish Beis. And is the yain mikachim? Which wine do you make kiddush on? So says comes the Mechaber, it says en mikachim al yain shel chora. You're not allowed to make kiddush on wine that has a foul smell. How do we know? What's the Makar? So the Gemara says because it says that krivu nalef lepratecha, that when you bring such an offering to your minister, to your the navi is chastising the Jewish people, saying how would you give an offering to a king, to a ruler, such a disgusting thing? You wouldn't. So the same thing when it comes to do a mitzvah, you should make sure to do it. In the right way. So therefore you should not make kiddush on wine that smells bad. What does that mean? That means it's actual wine. It was just placed in a vessel that smells, and therefore give the wine a bad smell. The Mishabura says that you're not even yotze b'diavad, you have to repeat wine again. The Be'er Halacha says you have to repeat kiddush again. The Be'er Halacha says that it could be that you are yotze. And that's what he says. Even if it smells and tastes like wine, it's still going to be fine. You should not make kiddush on wine that was exposed, and we saw in the Mishabur, he says that if the exposingness detracts from its taste, meaning the whole point over here is that the wine should be like on the highest level. The best thing to have, it's the best option, that you should have the most chashuv of wine when you're being Mekadei Shabbos. It's the same din of that, like you need to hold the cup with 2 hands and lift to the top. It's all the so chashivas for the mitzvah, so too for the mitzvah, so too for the wine itself. If you make a kiddush on wine, and it turns out that it was spoiled, what's the din? You're not even yotze your chiyuv of kiddush, because it turned out you were making kiddush on what? On water. You're making it on
vinegar.
Something disgusting, on vinegar or whatever it is, and therefore you would have to make a bor priya guffin again. Why do we make a bor priya guffin on wine? So the Gemara says because it has 2 qualities. It's sa'id v'misameach, meaning it fills you up and it makes you happy. So the question is, how are you allowed to make kiddush on grape juice? Grape juice might fill you up, but it definitely does not make you happy. Right, so therefore, comes the Mishabur, comes the Shlomo Zalman, and he says since grape juice has the potential, meaning it could become wine. And you asked a good question. I still don't have a good answer. Adding the yeast afterwards, sorry, but since it has the potential of becoming wine, so therefore, what's the din? The din is that it's considered wine itself. And that's what the Gemara. The Gemara says Sochet Adam Eshkol Shela Navin. A person can squeeze grapes into a cup. If you're stuck on some desert island, you're going on vacation, you forgot to bring wine for Shabbos, you go to the local supermarket, buy some grapes, squeeze them out before Shabbos, you have Shabbos with a little niggin, and then you have kiddush for Shabbos. So comes. However, what's the problem? That the grape juice that we buy today is already pasteurized, and since it's pasteurized, there's no
Can't ferment.
The can't ferment doesn't have the possibility. So Shlomo Zalman says that since it once had the possibility, that's enough. But Rashiv didn't like this. Therefore, he says that if it's fermented to state, if it's pasteurized to state where it can't become wine on itself, you should not be making kiddush on grape juice. So what could you do? However, you could add a little bit of wine and then add grape juice to it, because as long as you have 25% wine, it's the whole thing is considered wine. We saw that yain mevushal ikra din. Before yain mevushal, we saw that you should not be making kiddush on white wine. You should be making kiddush ideally on red wine. The Yalkut Yosef was very machmir in this, and they're machmir like the Ramban to say that white wine is puzzle, and therefore you should not be making it. The Ramah says that if the white wine is better than the red wine, so then you're allowed to make kiddush on the white wine. But if the white wine is at the same level, so then you should definitely be making on the red. The Shlomo Zalman, he quotes with that you can dye it by using grape juice or wine, but not by using food coloring, because that's not considered wine. Very good. So that was the gabe that. Then we spoke about yain mevushal. There's the machlokas. There's the machlokas if you can use yain mevushal. And then we asked the question, what's considered mevushal? Is pasteurization considered mevushal or not? Shlomo Zalman held that it's not considered mevushal. Why is it not considered mevushal? He said because the taste doesn't change, right? But the other achronim in the OU paskins that pasteurization is considered mivushal. That's what we saw on some of the bottles here in Eretz Yisrael. It says mivushal al yidei pistu. Why? Because according to Shlomo Zalman, that's not bishul. That's not mivushal. It's not mivushal. Why? Because you can't taste the difference. So he asked, or someone asked in one of the groups, he said, didn't we learn, if you remember from Mazman, Shlomo Zalman says that one of the reasons why you're allowed to add cold milk from your fridge into a boiling hot cliche, right? Aren't you cooking the thing and it's going to come? So he says it's pasteurized. So you see that pasteurization is bishul. So then why over here is he saying that when it comes to pasteurization, it's not bishul, right? So there's a difference between Shabbos and Stam Yin. I mean, when it comes to Shabbos, the din of bishul is once it reaches Yad Tzula, there's supposed something that's considered mivushal. But when it comes to Stam Yinam, the whole Chazal only goes around wine that could be makrif as a vodazar, right? What's the chashash? The chashash was that a guy might take this wine and be makdish for his avodah. So if it's a wine that went through a pasteurization and the guy can't even tell the difference, and for him it's exactly the same thing, so then of course it's not gonna. Of course it's still kosher, meaning the pistu, the pasteurization doesn't do anything, and it's not considered mivushal. So that was the gabe that. Then we spoke about Chamer Medina. What was Chamer Medina? Do you remember this? So we saw like this. You saw the Gemara. The Gemara says as follows. Comes the Gemara, and the Gemara says a few things. First, the Gemara says that Ravin made Havdalah on beer. And then they asked Rav Huna, and they said, Rav Huna, are you allowed to make Kiddush on beer? What is the answer? He says, not only are you not allowed to make Kiddush, you're also not allowed to make Havdalah. That was one Gemara we saw. The next, the Gemara we saw was that Levi sent Rebbe this like amazing beer, like the best beer ever. And he said, wow, this is so good that it's right to make on it Kiddush, and it's right to make on it Kol HaTishbachu Sheba'olam, like all the Kiddushim. And then at night he got sick, and he said, oh, this you can't make Kiddush on. Right? So the question is, so Me'ikra Adin, you should really be making Kiddush on wine itself and not on Chamer Medina. So look at the Mishnah Berurah. The Mishnah Berurah, the Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch says, "B'makom she'ein yain." If there's no wine, matzah, if there's no wine around, yesh omrim, there are those who say shemekachin ala shechal, that you can make Kiddush on beer. V'shar mashkin chutz min hamayim. V'yesh omrim, and some say she'en mekachin. Meaning, if there's no wine, there's a machlokas whether you can make Kiddush on Chamer Medina. The first sheet that says yesh omrim that you could, and the second sheet that yesh omrim that you can't. And yesh v'yesh in the Shulchan Aruch is usually what? It's the yesh basra. And what's the yesh basra? That Chamer Medina doesn't work. However, he quotes the Rosh, and the Rosh says that at night, b'layla lo yikadesh ala shichar. At night, you should not use Chamer Medina. Why? Because there are shittas that hold that Chamer Medina never works. What should you be using it? You should be making Kiddush on the challah. And that's what you should do at night. But during the day, what should you be doing? Really, make a din. You couldn't make Kiddush also on the challah itself during the day. Why can you make Kiddush on the challah itself during the day? Because it's like any Kiddush. But since the Kiddush won't be muchan, it's not going to be understood that this is Kiddush because you're just making motzah lachim and aretz. So therefore, it's best to make Kiddush on the Chamer Medina. But you see from the Shulchan Aruch that the whole din of making Kiddush on Chamer Medina is only if there's no wine around in town, right? But if there is wine, so then you're good. So what's pshat? Why today is everyone making Kiddush on whiskey? So we saw Machlokas, what gives something the status of Chamer Medina? And the Rashbam says that all drinks that are drunk when there is no wine in the city, those drinks are considered Chamer Medina. And that's why the Shulchan Aruch over here says when there's no wine in the city, you can make Kiddush on Chamer Medina. Why? Because once there's no wine in the city, then everything else has the status of Chamer Medina. Right? So comes the Shevet Levi and he says, if that's the case today, that people b'shita don't drink wine, right? On a Tuesday or on a whatever, you're having a meal, you don't just always have wine. Even though wine is readily available, people don't drink. It's not their go-to drink. They drink Coke, they drink water. There's a lot of other drinks that are a lot more geshmak that people drink. So therefore, it's always wine or all these drinks that we always drink on a common practice. It automatically has the status of Chamer Medina, and therefore you can make Kiddush on it. But then he sets a caveat. He says, when is that true? Only if there's no wine in your house. But if there's wine in your house, obviously the wine takes precedence. So according to the Shevet Levi, if you go to Kiddush and you have a spread, what should you be making Kiddush on? The wine itself, and not on the shops. Where does the minhag to make it on shops? So we saw one sheet of the Sira Geffen who says that maybe it could be based on the Rebbe. The Rebbe said, oh, this is right, and according to Rebbe was one of the richest people, so he obviously had wine. And yet he still said that what? Then it's royal called Shbach. So you see, even though you have wine, if it's super geshmak, it's going to be mutter. The Chai Adam, and the Mishnah Berurah quotes the Chai Adam says that if you like the whiskey more than other things, then it's going to be then you're allowed to make Kiddush on the whiskey. What's the makor to this? Either from this Gemara of Rebbe and Levi, or because the Beis Yosef writes that according to the Rosh, you're allowed to make kiddush on the challah if you like challah more than the wine. So you see that if something is more chaviv to you, you're allowed to make kiddush on that itself. So therefore, so that's where the makor of making kiddush on Chamer Medina is. But the Chai Adam and the Mishnah Berurah, they say if you're making kiddush on Chamer Medina, how much should you be at least making? You should have at least a revis, and you should drink what? A malulugma, or at least you should have the mishtatfim be mitzaref to malulugma. But Mekar, then you should really be drinking a malulugma. So where is the din of drinking just a shot last time? So that's we saw from the Mashal, because the Taz, where the Taz says that when it comes to shot in Yemitvaro, the din is that you can make. You can make a bar nefashos on a shot because that's like the normal method of drink. So if you can make a bar nefashos, so then it's also considered enough of a chashivish that you can make kiddush on that, and that was the opinion of the Shuk Marasham. But Lamaisa, we saw that most poskim, whoever goes to the sukkah, Lamaisa said the best thing to do is to definitely make kiddush on wine. Even the Marasham, he said that he quotes it. He saw from a lot of people they were doing it in the minute. But Lamaisa, that those were all like begad their lalam and tzchos. But Me'ikar Din, you should be really making kiddush on wine itself. What's considered what? That's what the Mishnah Berurah says. The Mishnah Berurah says that if you prefer the schnapps, so then you can make it on schnapps. Right, but you need, and then we saw what does it mean that you like? It's reported from a few Sfarim. That means that you open every morning. You have like these guys that every morning you have the thing, right? So that was the gabe. Then we said what's considered chamer. We saw the Shemir Shabbos Kilkasa, who says that any drink that's important, right, like a beer or orange juice or whatever it is, and Rav Moshe says any drink that's not drunk to quench your thirst, just to quench your thirst, meaning it's something that you would serve to guests, that's considered chamer medina. Then the Mechaber and Sif Yud paskins like the Gemara in Psachim that you don't need to drink. That if you make a bar piragaf in the beginning, you do not need to make a bar piragaf throughout the meal itself. Comes the Mechaber and Sefer Rishon and Gimel. This is the Siga of Kiddush b'Makom Suda. When a person makes Kiddush, he needs to beware b'Makom Suda. So then we saw Machlokas, what's considered exactly b'Makom Suda. So here we saw a lot of different, a little detail. So we saw like this: if you're in the same room, so then the din is that you're allowed to go from corner to corner. The Mishnah Berurah says that l'chatchila you shouldn't. Right? And we said what's the case? The case is like an ofra for a simcha, where you get set on one table, and then you see your friend from yeshiva, and you say, hey, I want to go to the other table, after you make kiddush. So all these cases we're going to discuss in a minute can all be salvaged by eating a little bit, because then it's makom suda, and then continue the suda on the other guy's table. But let's say you didn't think of that, so could you move to the other table? So Meikar Din, you're allowed to. The Mishnah Berurah says that l'chatchila you should not move, unless you had in mind. If you have in mind, so then you can move to the other table. That's in the same room. What about if you're in the same house but you're in different rooms and you can see the other room? So there again, also we saw that that's the Yishom room, who says that you're allowed to move from one room to another room. But Meikar Din, you should stay in the same room itself. And if you had in mind and you see the other room, then you can move even l'chatchila. And this is not for me if you want to eat on the porch. Right? If you're making kiddush in the house and you want to have your Shabbos food, the Shabbos day on the porch or whatever it is. So the din is that you can, if you see it, what? Seeing the other room does not give it the din of pinot fina. Correct. Yeah. What if it's in the same house but it's different rooms? So here the Shulchan Aruch is machalik whether you have in mind or not. Meaning, if you don't have in mind, and you want to move from like the top floor to the bottom floor, and you didn't have in mind the din is you're going to have to say kiddush again because you didn't see it and you didn't have in mind, and you're moving to a new place. That's a shinui makom. Therefore, you would have the din that you would have to repeat again. However, if you had in mind to move downstairs and it's in the same room, so the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah, he says v'chei nikvar paskin that what the din is you do not need you don't need to eat in the place where you are. You can have in mind to finish the suda over there, and that's what we saw that what most people do in the shuls in America, that the rabbi makes the kiddush in the shul upstairs. Everyone has in mind to eat downstairs, and since we're having in mind, and it's in the same building, it's going to be mutter. But the Bir Halacha says in the you should not be samich on this if it's in a different house and you can see the other house and you had in mind to eat there. So we said it's going to be mutter b'diavad v'shas tchak, but not if you can't see the other house, so then you can't move and you need to repeat kiddush if you go to the other room. So that was basically Sif Aleph, Beis, and Gimel. Comes the Mechaber in Sif Gimel. And he says that when you make kiddush, you need to have kiddush right away. So we saw what's right away. Right away is as soon as possible, and as fast as possible. But we saw that what exactly is that speed? So we saw that when a person is making kiddush in one house, and you hear the kiddush, and you're in the other house, the din is that you could be yotze if he has in mind to be motzi you, and you're having in mind to be yotze. and the Shulchan Aruch says if your table is set, and the Mishnah Berurah says even if your table is not set, but you're about to get the Suda started. So you see that Kiddush Makom Suda doesn't mean 2 seconds, right? It doesn't mean like I have to stuff it in my mouth right away, but it means that I should start the process of Kiddush Makom Suda. Then we saw the Mechaber in Sifdal. Mechaber in Sifdal talks about if you're allowed to be motzi someone else. Mechaber says that I'm allowed to be motzi someone else in Kiddush, as long as that person, for him, it's Kiddush Makom Suda. Even though for me it's not Kiddush Makom Suda, I do not, if for him it's Kiddush Makom Suda, so then I do not need to, I don't need a drink, and also he himself is allowed to, he himself is yotzi the sleep of Kiddush if he's having his meal in that place. So you see that, what? And he has in mind to be motzi him, and I'm coming into your house, I'm making Kiddush to be motzi you. What? Correct. I'm having my motzi. He's having my motzi. I'm not eating or drinking anything, but he's having his meal over there. So what's the Kiddush from this Shulchan Aruch? The Shulchan Aruch is that even though I'm not yotzi my chiv of Kiddush, what's the din? He's yotzi. And since I'm not yotzi my chiv of Kiddush, if I didn't make Kiddush, I'm not allowed to drink from the wine because I'm not allowed to eat before Kiddush. Right? So that's the din. So then we had then we saw Machlokas. So what's the din? How far can we take this? Can we extend this also to someone who does early Shabbos? Meaning, I did early Shabbos. Sorry, I did not do early Shabbos. You want to do early Shabbos. You want me to make Kiddush for you. Am I allowed to come into your house and make Kiddush for you before Shabbos itself? So Rekiv Eiger leaves it what? B'tzarchin that tzarchin b'dishmir Shabbos Nipsa that b'makom atchak you could be somech on this, but not on a kavua basis. The Mishnah Berurah, the Shulchan Aruch throws in that the only time allowed to be motzi someone else if that other person doesn't know how to say it himself, or sometimes it's the person is sick, or whatever it is. Then we asked, and this is the sugya that Shlomo Zalman was discussing, how far do we extend it? What about a Yontif Sheni? Can me, who for me it's just a regular day, can I be motzi? It's Cholamoy. Can I be motzi the Yontif Sheni guy with a boy Priyagafitz who says I can't even be motzi him on a Shabbos, on not on Shabbos, on Yontif. On Yontif Day, where even the Yontif Sheni guy would only be saying Boyer Priyagafen, still I can't be Yontif him. Why? Because I'm not B'chlal the mitzvah at all, right? I'm not even in the Parsha. When it comes to doing Shabbos early, I could be Mekabel Shabbos early. And since I could be Mekabel Shabbos early, so therefore I could also be Motzi you. But over here, I can't become a Ben Chutzlaritz now, right? So therefore, I can't be Yotzi. What's considered Kiddush Makom Suda? We saw a few shittas. Either a Revius. The Mishnah Berurah says maybe 2 revises or a malah lugma ben revis. Number 3 is a kazayis of bread. Number 4 is kazayis of mizonos, which is quoted in the Mishnah Berurah that if a revis works, koshkin kazayis of mizonos works. And then the last thing that was quoted in the Shulchan Giborim is that fruit. That if a person's mamashek and he doesn't have any other option, so then he can be somich on fruit. But mekar din, you should not be somich on that. Then we saw the Gra, that the Gra says that Kiddush Makom Suda is always going to be where? Has to be on the Suda of bread, and it can never be on any of these things. And then we saw the Machlokas of, do you need to repeat Kiddush when you come back home to your house after you had Kiddush in Shua? So we saw that it depends on how do you learn Kiddush Makom Suda. Is Kiddush Makom Suda din in the Kiddush? And if it's a din in the Kiddush, so then I make Kiddush. I had my mizonos. When I come home, I don't need to make Kiddush again. Right? I would do it to make Kiddush. But if it's a din in the Suda, then whenever I have a Suda, I need to be Merayim the Suda through a Kiddush. So then when I'm at the Kiddush, when I come back home, I need to make Kiddush again, and that's the Maisa, what the Gra held, that whenever I have my Suda, I need to make Kiddush, and that's what we said in the Ramah, beautifully, that the Ramah held like this shita, and that's why he held that you have to sit down by Kiddush, so it's a be, because it's a din in the Suda. That's why he said that you should wash first and then make Kiddush again, all midinim of that it should be Kiddush b'makom Suda. So that was that. Then we saw the Shulchan Aruch and Sif Vav, who teaches based on the tour, that again, that if I'm making Kiddush in my house and someone else is listening and we both have in mind to be Motzi, I could be Yotzi. The Mishnah Berurah talks about the case that if you go to Shul and I have in mind, I'm eating in Shul, and having in mind to be Yotzi from the Chazin, who's being Mekadosh in Shul, the din is, I'm not Yotzi. Why? Because everyone today who's making Kiddush in Shul, they're not doing it to be Motzi the people who are eating and sleeping in Shul, because who's eating and sleeping in Shul? Rather, they're doing it, what? So therefore, since he's not having in mind to be Motzi me, I am not going to be Yotzi. So that was if. What? Unless you ask him. If you ask him, he's going to be Yotzi. Comes to Mechaber and Sif Zayin, and it says, Yesh Omrim she'en mekadshim ela le'or haner, ויש אומרים שאין הקידוש תלוי בנר, ואם הוא נהנה בחצר יותר מפני האוויר, or מפני הצפופים, מקדש בחצר ואוכל שם. Basically what we saw was that me'ikar then you should be eating b'makom, a place that's illuminated, and if you're mamish mitzvah, so then you can go outside if you're mitzvah harbing. That's what the Mishnah Berurah says. But Shlomo Zalman says that today this whole din of mitzvah harbing is only if in the place that you're going it's pitch dark. But if in the place that you're going, there's still going to be a little bit of light, the thing is that you can go out there even if it's not mitzvah harbe, even if it's a little bit mitzvah, but me'ikar din, you should really always be making kiddush the makom, the candles and the makom seudah. Yasher, koach, amazing. So that's the next week. Thursday night. Thursday night, 8 o'clock. Where? At 8. Here? Right here. Right here.
Any announcements?
There's really groups are also coming in. So find your classroom. What? So they're going to be cooked, not going to be cooked.
So when during the shots, you were
What?
at studies?
You're downstairs.